His name was Jeffy. He was the last survivor and the one who had reached the pinnacle of human strength. In the final battle with the demon lord Tartaros, he failed, and that was the end for all of humanity. However, Jeffy was accidentally given a chance to regress 15 years into the past, but in return he had to become a slave to the gods, the very beings he utterly despised. Jeffy knew all too well that they were the ones truly pulling all the strings, but his own power was far too weak to confront these existences, these so-called gods. Therefore, he gritted his teeth and chose to accept their offer of regression. This time around, Jeffy planned to make himself even stronger than in his previous life, determined to save humanity and take revenge on all those who were called gods. Out there, beneath a blazing sky, the roars of monsters echoed everywhere. Atop a towering rocky mountain, a pillar of light shot straight into the sky, tearing through the pitch-black night. Fresh blood dripped from the sharp blade, mixing with the ashes of battle. "Impressive, last human." Sharp claws extended, reflecting the crimson light from the flames scorching the earth. But it doesn't matter. "With this victory will surely be mine." The demonic sword pierced straight through the young man's chest. An evil power ignited a gut-wrenching pain. The sword in his hand cracked. Then it shattered into pieces. Blood surged up his throat, spilling past the corner of his lips. Gah! Gah! The demonic sword embedded deep in his body relentlessly burned every fiber of his flesh, every one of his veins. The pain spread, bringing with it a sense of despair. The end of the world had arrived. It had been a year since humanity fell to the demon race. Most humans had been slaughtered. The few who survived were captured, stripped of their consciousness, and turned into hosts for birthing new monsters. And I, the last of humanity, had fought until this very moment. Before me stood the demon lord Tartaros, the ruler of darkness, the destroyer of the mortal world. He spoke in a low voice. "You seem to be in a lot of pain. Let me give you a hand." Rings of dark light wrapped around Zephyr's body. Everything suddenly slowed down, time stretching out unnaturally. "I have made time slow down. This way we can have a longer conversation." The demon lord stepped closer, his eyes blazing like two pits of hellfire. "Human, no Jefferson. I remember your name. You are the only one who has troubled me for so long. While others saw this war as hopeless, your persistence has earned my admiration. You deserve some praise." His voice was deep and hoarse, yet full of authority. "Those who gave up the fight just because they feared their opponent's strength are nothing but trash. I never even gave those weaklings a second glance. But you're different." The demon lord paused, then gave a cruel smile. "You are the one who has climbed to the pinnacle of humanity, a true warrior. For that reason, I will give you a chance." He extended his hand, a powerful invitation. "Serve me, Jefferson. Conquer this world and other worlds with me. Even if it's the realm of the gods, we will destroy them too. We will seize it all." A soft chuckle escaped Jefferson's lips. He looked up at the being before him, the corner of his mouth curling into a sneer. "Ha! Really? You really think I would accept that?" The demon lord replied, "Of course." Jefferson smirked. "Not a bad offer." "Nonsense. From the impact of that last battle, my body is broken beyond imagination. You could say that even if this body were to recover, it could never be as whole as it was before." What is he trying to do? Give me a chance. This isn't an offer, it's another way for him to watch me beg for my life. My friends, the people I loved. How could I possibly beg from the one who took everything from me? Jefferson's slightly trembling hand reached towards the demon lord. Tartaros, thinking he had won, flashed a cunning smile. "I have a terrible personality. She always told me that, and told me to stop cussing. But ever since I could no longer hear her voice, she placed an interesting spell on me." His hand gripped the demon lord's. The demon lord realized something was wrong. Power was gathering in Zephyr's arm. "If I do this with my arm, my body will explode with a power whose impact could reach beyond this kingdom. This is my answer to your offer, demon lord Tartaros." Jefferson's eyes were full of defiance. "Shut your damn mouth, you dog!" Energy detonated like a bomb. A blinding light erupted. A sky full of fire exploded. The demon lord's silhouette shimmered behind the immense heat. He stared wide-eyed. The part of his arm that Jefferson had gripped was charred. "My hand, what's happening to it? What happened to my hand?" The demon lord's eyes were filled with disbelief. The muscles in his face tensed, veins popping on his skin as he clenched his jaw. The demon lord roared, "Argh!" Cold sweat beaded on the demon lord's face. He stared at the half-demolished figure before him. The demon lord trembled with rage. "Jefferson! You bastard! How dare you disrespect me like this? Damn human!" He punched Jefferson's body hard. Ah! His burned body instantly shattered into pieces, and with that the final battle was over. I couldn't avenge my loved ones, nor could I save humanity as I had wished. Everything just ended in vain. Or at least that's how it should have ended. His fingertips trembled slightly. Jeffy opened his eyes. Huh. He was bewildered. What is this? I'm still not dead. He sat up and checked his body. Something's wrong. My wounds, they've all healed. My armor is fine too, but where am I? He looked around. Statues of gods. A cathedral. Why is there a cathedral like this here? He gave a self-deprecating laugh. Of course there is. This must be the afterlife. Then this place is definitely hell. A voice suddenly spoke up. This isn't hell. This is the lowest level of the temple where the gods reside. A sphere of light appeared from the main hall. An angel stepped out of the void. Jefferson, on guard, reached behind him. His eyes froze. He couldn't summon his sword. The angel spoke. There's no need to be surprised, Jefferson. I am the spokesperson for the gods, the High Angel Mercedes, she announced. You are dead. Normally you would be sent straight to hell. However, at the request of the three great gods, we have decided to send you back to the past. Jeff didn't understand what that meant. The angel explained, we will send you back to the past with your memories to give you a chance to change the future. Of course, you won't just keep your memories when you go back. You will also retain all of your physical abilities, magical power, and the skills you've acquired. The angel added, since you've reached the pinnacle of the human world, I'm sure you'll be able to return here quickly. Jefferson was silent for a moment. Am I dreaming? But Tartarus doesn't have the ability to create illusions. Could this be a pre-death hallucination? He took a sharp breath. Ha! Jefferson asked. Why are you giving me a second chance? The angel noticed his suspicion. It seems you don't believe us. I understand. If you want something as proof, Jefferson cut her off. No, I believe you. Or rather, I'll go along with it. It's just, what do I have to do in return? You people would give me this opportunity for free. You must want something from me in return. While everyone around me was dying in the war against the demons, while I was begging for help in desperation. The gods cut off all communication with this world. They refused every prayer and accepted no offerings. What's more, they stripped the priests of their ability to borrow divine power, leaving them unable to heal. And that led to the swift collapse of the human armies. Once they saw there was nothing left to gain, they simply abandoned this world. So there's no reason why schemers like you would give me a chance like this for free. The angel replied, I understand. To answer that question, I will show you what the gods are thinking right now. The angel opened her blue eyes. Show us something more interesting. Jefferson's face darkened, his jaw clenched. What? The angel explained. The gods are still watching you even after you met such a tragic end. A human who could fight so tenaciously all alone against the end of the world for so long is a rare sight indeed. For 5 whole years, no less. Fighting nonstop against the powerful demon army, honestly watching you was well worth it. Jefferson's gaze turned fierce. The angel continued, many of the gods felt it was a shame to see your world end so quickly. Don't you remember? Had the flow of time continued, fortune would have favored you. The reason the gods decided to give you another chance despite the potential consequences is because... A streak of light shot towards her. Jeff channeled power into his fist and launched a ranged punch at the angel. He snarled, You bastards, you think this is entertaining? Me. Everyone. The reason we all fought with our lives on the line was it all just for your amusement. Just because we were worth watching. The angel calmly raised her hand. With a flick of her wrist, a beam of light shot out. A giant foot appeared from the void, stomping down hard on Jeff. He was crushed beneath it, his back forced to bend as the ground shook violently. The giant foot was imprinted on the ground. The angel, completely unaffected, walked over to where Jefferson was pinned. The gods are still watching, you know. Try to be a little more polite. She leaned down slightly. It seems you've misunderstood. Let me make things clear. The only thing the gods are interested in is you. They never had any interest in common creatures like humans to begin with. She grabbed Jeff's chin, forcing him to look at her. Prove your worth. That's the only way you'll get what you want. The same goes for humanity and other creatures like them. Nothing in this world is free, is it? Jefferson only glared coldly. The angel withdrew the giant foot, her gaze becoming distant. There is an entity. No. A A god who desperately wants you to return for a different reason. Jefferson frowned in suspicion. A loud crash echoed as the demon lord single-handedly lifted a pillar he had just torn from the ground. How much longer must I wait? Get out here. Let me speak to whoever is in charge. The terrified angel guards pleaded, please, you mustn't. We are currently processing your request and... The demon lord roared aggressively. Shut your mouth. The demon lord conqueror of 10 worlds was defeated by a lowly human ridiculous. That's impossible. Hurry, do something to stop that from happening. I've already said I'll take responsibility for whatever happens. All right, everything is ready. Jefferson watched through a mirror. What is this madman doing? The angel spoke. The demon lord Tartaros, the god of destruction. He has destroyed 10 worlds, including your own. His goal is to destroy all worlds. And he is the undefeated god of war, one who can never be defeated by any living being. But because of you, that record has been broken. Do you have any idea how much you've shattered his pride? Jefferson frowned. What, just for that reason, that cowardly bastard? The angel relayed the message. He desires another battle with you to reclaim his victory. So Jefferson, what do you say? Jefferson smirked, clenching his fist. Ah, the answer is obvious, isn't it? If he wants to die, then I'll grant his wish. The angel began the process. Turning back time. Now we will begin the transfer. Although the exact point in time is undetermined, you will still have enough time to regain your power. In addition, the gods have bestowed their support upon you. You will receive it in the form of a regressor's privilege. Be sure to check it after you return. The magic circle around Jefferson glowed brightly. Even if this chance was given to me by those disgusting gods, an opportunity is an opportunity. I'll use it to get my revenge on the demon lord Tartaros. And on the gods who look down on humans. The angel announced, coordinates have been set. Final confirmation from the constellations in the dimensional interference is complete. Now I hope for the best for you, Jefferson. I hope you will satisfy all of us. The ring of light turned into a vortex shooting up and vanishing into the void. A dim light appeared and a voice echoed, fading in and out. Boss? He stopped breathing. The boss yelled, shut up! Hey, wake up, wake up! Jefferson's eyes snapped open. Wake up, newbie! Cold water drenched him from above. Jefferson was bewildered. Ha! The men around him shouted. He's awake, see? Told you he wasn't dead. Jefferson looked at the one who had poured water on him. Huh. Then he looked around. Who are these people? I feel like I've met them before. He saw the emblem on their chests. This emblem. He clutched his head. Ah, I remember now. Ha ha ha. A henchman snitched, boss, this guy's laughing. Jefferson deduced, I must have returned 10 or 12 years in the past, back when I was a slave in the cathedral. A man holding a lantern approached. What's going on here? The boss quickly replied, Captain, it's nothing, sir. The man reminded them break time is over. Get back to work. The boss obediently said, yes, sir. Before leaving, he didn't forget to warn Jefferson. Hey, you. If you piss me off again, I'll really kill you. Jefferson shot back. What the hell did you just say? The blonde-haired man got angry. This son of a bitch! His henchman pulled him back. Boss, let's go. Jefferson rubbed his forehead, thinking, I really couldn't care less about these guys. A trembling person made a small, weak sound. Master, thank you for protecting me. Jefferson wondered, who is this kid? It's been 15 years, so I don't remember the details clearly. It seems like it'll be tough getting used to this again. He stopped in his tracks. Ah, that's right. The regressor's privilege. The angel said I could use it at any time. I just have to say open privilege. Jeff recalled her words. That's what she said. Let's see. He saw that the boy was now a good distance away. He said, open privilege. A stream of light surrounded him. Jefferson was stunned. Wait, this... He smirked. This is insane. His face was filled with excitement. Did they really give me this? The people around him exclaimed, whoa, this new guy is something else. He's really good. Was he a miner before coming here? They watched Jefferson. Look at his speed. The ore bags are already full. 2 of them walked away. I wish that guy was on our team. Damn it, because this guy is working so hard we don't get to rest at all. Meanwhile, Jefferson was ecstatic. Ha! Is this for real? A moment ago when he said open privilege, he clutched his head and groaned. Ugh. Information about the privilege is flooding my mind. His eyes flew open. What is this? High-level skills and items. Even an ability I can use as a real skill. I can't believe it. This is crazy. Did those guys really give me stuff like this? Why are these cheap bastards being so generous he's storming over here? Didn't I tell you to get back to work? It's your first day here, and you're already slacking off and taking a break. Jefferson realized it was the mining team captain. That damn captain. Are you really not going to listen to me, you bunch of brats? He swung his whip hard. Let me teach you some manners. The whip cracked through the air only to be caught by Jefford's bare hands. The captain was stunned. Huh, how can this guy catch a whip with his bare hands? Jefford respectfully returned the whip. My apologies. I'll get back to work now. The captain took back the whip, his mouth agape, and stared in bewilderment at Jefford's retreating back. Jeff speculated maybe it's because of my combat experience that the captain's whip seemed to move so slowly, but I don't have a single scratch on me. This reminded him of his first privilege, the Iron Wall skill. It dramatically increases defensive power and completely ignores any damage lower than your defense stat. And it can keep you from feeling tired. I don't even feel the slightest bit of fatigue. He mined ore relentlessly. I could do this all day. I received a total of 9 privileges. If I combine them with my knowledge of the future, it won't be long before I get my power back. And the first thing I'll do is... The record keeper's jaw dropped at the amount of ore before him. That's amazing work! The captain gathered everyone. I finished calculating today's work output. Now I'll announce the rankings. First place, Group F. The little boy coughed. Yeah, Jeff thought. Ah, so this kid is in my group. Second place, Group B. A blonde-haired guy cried out, What? How did they get first place? Third place, Group H. The rest will be omitted. And in last place, Group E. The last place team members held their heads and groaned, No. The captain announced, According to the mining team's protocol, the supplies and compensation for the last place group will be distributed fairly among the top 3 groups. Here, Jefferson glanced over at the miserable members of the last place group. The captain shouted, Next, we will perform the ritual prayer to the goddess Arya. The believers raised their hands high in unison. Goddess Arya, please grant us salvation with your eternal light. Almighty Goddess Arya, please grant us salvation with your eternal light. Jefferson followed along half-heartedly. Salvation. My ass. The Temple of Arya, one of the 3 most powerful and influential gods on the continent, and also the largest lending guild. Most of the people here may either lost their homes to monsters or were adventurers whose lives were saved by that temple only to become slaves to pay off colossal medical debts. Anyway, as long as I have this mark on me, I can't move around freely as I please. If I go outside the work area without permission, my heart will stop and I'll die instantly. I have to pay off the cost of my treatment as soon as possible and get my freedom back. Only then can I move on to the next step of my plan. Demon Lord Tartaros, this time I won't let you do as you please. I will have my revenge as vivid images flashed through his mind, her lingering gaze and her smile. Auntie, this time I will protect you. A guide announced, Those who wish to use the shop or need a consultation, please come this way. The sound of a bustling crowd. 1 beer and 2 orders of baked potatoes. The prices were listed. 80 silver coins for a mug of beer. Jeff thought, this stuff is ridiculously expensive. The little boy trailed behind him. Master, I'll buy you a drink. Jeff looked at him. Huh, you have money. The boy took out a few small coins. I just got paid. Although I can't buy you anything expensive. You protected me from being beaten by those guys, and we only got first place thanks to you. Our group is just full of weak people, and we're always in last place. So this is the first time I've ever gotten paid. Jeff understood. Uh-huh. So that's why they were beating you. If one person in a group gets beaten up and can't work anymore, that group won't be able to mine much iron ore. When that happens, the other group's rankings go up. He refused. Are you kidding me? I'm not going to exploit a child. Adults have their pride, you know. He thought, I guess that kid thinks I'm going to spend all my own money. But this is getting annoying. Don't come over here. The shop owner greeted him. Hello there. What can I get for you? Jefferson asked. Do you have any recovery potions? The owner was surprised. I haven't seen you before. You new here. You got the money for it. It's 1 gold coin for a cup, 4 gold coins for a flask. If you can still take it, I suggest you just tough out the pain. Jefferson dropped money on the counter. This is 1.5 gold coins. Put the rest on my tab. Do you have an IOU form? Give me one. The little boy panicked. Master, As Jefferson stamped the IOU, the boy shouted, "You're crazy! Do you have any idea how terrifying it is to be in debt? We only get paid 1 gold coin, which is just half of what you owe. But if you don't get paid again, you'll really be piling it on. And the interest rates are insanely high." Jeff told him quiet down. He drank the recovery flask. "I just have to pay it all back, right?" The boy was dumbfounded. Yes. Recovery potion. A common item that restores a small amount of stamina. If you drink a large amount, it has a hidden effect of increasing magical power. Even drinking 10 bottles only increases your magical power by a minuscule amount, so it seems useless. But with this privilege, I don't even need an elixir. Privilege 2. Hemet's vision skill. Drastically increases the effects of all potions. Effect increase rate 500%. I won't have to touch my mining wages anymore, because I'll never have enough money to pay off my debt even working my ass off. Tell me, what am I supposed to do? The mining captain was surprised. Huh. You're saying you heard a monster's cry in the mine? Jefferson affirmed. Yes, sir, please call the hunter party here. I'll lead them to where I heard the monster's cry. Jefferson had already laid out his plan. I'll make money from the dungeons. Monsters are creatures created by a vortex of energy. Most monsters are hostile to humans and have caused a lot of chaos over the years. But on the other hand, it's also an opportunity for humanity. The will of the energy within a monster's body. Energy stones, bones, and fur are materials for items. Before we knew it, monsters were considered a valuable resource. In other words, a monster's lair is both a dangerous place and a treasure trove. The sound of hurried footsteps rang out. A 3-person team appeared. The hunter party. Hunter parties were formed by those ravaged by war. The basic subsidy is high due to the danger of facing monsters. Bonuses are added depending on performance. Jefferson wondered. Why was I assigned as a miner when I'm an adventurer? There must be a reason. The stall owner shouted, Are you listening to me? No more loans! Jefferson asked, Is it over the daily limit? The owner replied, No, I just can't lend you anymore. Jefferson wondered, what should I do? Who can I borrow from? A nun appeared beside him. If you sell your organs, it might be possible. Our temple purchases organs as research materials. The air grew quiet for a moment. Jefferson asked, Can I see the document? The nun replied, Of course. Here you are. He suggested, Please set the date for next week. And if I pay off the debt, can it be postponed? The nun immediately replied, Of course, our temple isn't evil, you know. The owner yelled, You idiot! Why would you sell that? Jefferson turned to him. Then lend me the recovery potions. The owner could only throw up his hands. Do whatever you want. The nun praised him. Wow, you're so crazy. And manly. The owner was dejected. Great, another one's getting dragged off to the research lab. Jefferson used up all the potions. He was satisfied. Good. The conditions have been met. A spear struck the ground hard. A member of the hunter party appeared. You're Jefferson the guide. Jefferson looked over. Just in time? He replied, Yes, that's me. The one in the lead introduced himself. I'm Goth, captain of the scout team. This is Dale and Marco. Jefferson also introduced himself. I don't have the night vision skill, but I can use energy intuition. Night vision lets you see in the dark. Energy intuition spreads out and can be honed. This skill is essential to enter a dungeon without a monster detecting you. Goth calculated, Looks like we'll have to pay extra for night vision potions. He spoke up. If you're ready, let's go. Marco, give Jefferson this bag. You carry it. Dale and Goth walked ahead. Oh, a miner who knows how to use energy? How interesting. Haha, looks like he'll help us clear the dungeon. Goth snapped, Quiet, Dale. Jefferson heard everything but said nothing. He calculated silently. Let's see. I've never seen these two before, and I know one of them. I transferred to the hunter party about a month after this dungeon was cleared, so if things go as they should, 2 of them will die in this dungeon. I've got an idea on how to use these guys. The group climbed up the stone slabs. People from the temple were already waiting. Hey! We're the backup team. Everyone hold out your hands. A temple member tied threads to the hunter's hands. Jefferson also had one tied to him. The man explained. This is a bracelet that indicates magical power. If something happens to you, the one I'm holding will break and will immediately request backup from headquarters. Anyway, since this is your job, you'll be fine if you stay focused. Good luck. Jefferson led the way with the hunter party following behind. They went deep inside the cave. A group of monsters was patrolling their territory. A scouting stone was thrown out. The monsters looked at the stone suspiciously as it rolled a few times and came to a stop. Two figures suddenly appeared behind them. The job of the appraisal team is to confirm whether there are monsters and gather information related to the dungeon. Once useful intel is gathered, a powerful attack team is organized to clear it. That's the usual sequence. A hunter concluded, "This is probably their den. The lair near the entrance is theirs, right? Last week, hunter teams A and B were here." Dale speculated. "It seems the survivors dug a hole and hid, but the appraisal team members are hunters with combat abilities." Goth drew a diagram in the dirt. "Dale Marco." Goth asked, "Should we break through this place? Considering we've had multiple chances to attack, we could just clear it out right now." The other two were stunned. "Huh." Dale frowned. "Captain, our job is just appraisal. Don't do anything dangerous. What are you going to do if there's a horde of monsters on the other side? What if they're stronger than us? There are only 3 of us." Goth corrected him, 4. "And that's enough to catch kobolds." Dale raised his voice, pointing at Jefferson. "Are you kidding me? 3 people and 1 dead weight. What can he possibly do? Mako, stop him. Enough. Don't get ahead of yourself. Captain, do you have a plan? I want to hear it before I decide." Goth smirked and looked over at Jefferson. "Hey, get it out." Jefferson replied, "Yes, sir." He took out a sprig of cardamom, some chestnut leaves, and a berry. "If you mix this with dung, shriek, it will produce the exact scent of a female in heat." Dale covered his nose from the foul smell. Goth explained, "It has a strong odor. You can smell it from 100 meters away." The monsters caught the scent and went into a frenzy. Goth pinched his nose. "All right, we'll use these." A monster charged forward, but immediately fell into a trap. Clearly, the concoction was used as bait. Goth looked at his prize in the pit. "See, told you it would work." Dale exclaimed, "Whoa, sometimes I actually respect you." Captain Goth snapped, "What, just sometimes you got a death wish?" He asked, "How did you know that?" "I never expected an attack like that." Goth said arrogantly, "Experience makes all the difference." Jefferson thought to himself, "Actually, I was the one who told him in my first life." Before my regression, he had transferred to the Hunters Guild and ended up in my party. He was desperate for recognition, but he never got the chance. Before the meeting, Goth was taken aback. "What, clear it?" Jefferson had met with him in private. He said, "To be honest, I already went inside and scouted it out myself yesterday. This is just a kobold den." Goth scoffed. "Ha! You went in alone. How many lives you got?" Jefferson replied, "Before I came here, I was a scout for a specialized team. My expertise is finding escape routes." Goth stroked his chin. So you think the 4 of us are enough to pull off that strategy?" Jefferson didn't press the issue. "Of course, you're the one who makes the final call, but please, consider it." Jefferson was confident Goth would agree. After all, a dungeon this good can't be shared with anyone else. Goth looked over at him. "He's proven to be useful. Those chestnuts are pretty hard to find. He came well prepared and he knows how to hunt monsters. I also like how he gave me the information, without stepping on my authority as captain. If I introduce him to the squad, he could probably transfer to the hunting team." He took something out and handed it to Jefferson. "Use this." He took the knife. "Heh, thanks." Goth made his decision. "All right then." All that was left was... Dale found something. "Hey, there's something over here." He bent down to examine them. "Bones. Are these the remains of something that got eaten?" "A mountain monster, no. This structure. These are kobold bones." Just as he realized it, something huge charged at him. Dale was snatched up before he could even process what was happening. Goth yelled, "Dale!" The monster's arm hurled Dale away. He flew backward and slammed hard into the ground. Mako immediately channeled his power into his weapon, and a magic circle lit up. "Everyone get behind me." He was horrified. "Gods! I thought this was over. What is that thing in there?" "Ah, whatever. I'll just focus on defending and getting us out of here." He struggled to reinforce his shield. "This is a shield that can block an orc chieftain. There's no way it can break this thing." A giant tail smashed into him. Mako was sent flying. "Huh! My shield!" Goth roared. "Mako!" He was terrified. "That tail. It can't be." The tail struck again. Its main target was Goth. Outside the dungeon, the support team was horrified. "What is this?" "This is a bracelet that indicates magical power," he had told the others. "If something happens to any of you, the charm I'm holding will break." Just then, 3 of them snapped at once. He grew worried. Did something happen inside? Goth clutched his wounded arm, his eyes wide with shock. Jefferson, who had appeared out of nowhere, was standing in front of him, having blocked part of the tail's attack. Boon Iron Wall skill. Blocking ability greatly increased. Damage lower than defense is nullified, and no fatigue is felt. Jefferson looked at the wound that appeared on his arm. I guess Iron Wall doesn't block everything. It must be an infant not even a year old. But this creature is not to be taken lightly. The tail wrapped around Dale's body. The monster lifted him up, revealing its massive form. A predator. A predator. Lured and raised by someone using pheromones. Once it matures, it eats its own keeper. Jefferson said, "I'm borrowing this spear." Goth was stunned. "Wait, hold on. What do you think you're doing?" Jefferson spun the spear expertly. He smiled. "Now I can finally blow off some steam. Haha, perfect. Let's ask the concerned party how it would like to die." Third boon activated. Boon 3 Silver Key. A key leading to a forgotten castle. Its owner can retrieve items from the silver room at any time. Recently equipped on the left hand. In short, spatial manipulation. Goth stared stunned as items materialized out of thin air. A dragon heart and dragon heart fabric. A potion with a soothing effect. Jefferson unwrapped the bandages from his arm. He wrapped them tightly around the spear's shaft and said, "This is going to get rough." Goth was startled. "What?" he shouted. "What the hell are you doing? You don't even have any combat training." He cursed under his breath. Damn it. If he wants to get himself killed, fine, but I'm not going to die a pointless death with him. A powerful shockwave swept over them as the monster opened its mouth and roared. "Skill fear! Your enemies will be stunned in terror!" Goth froze, paralyzed with fear, and collapsed to the ground. I remember now. The story my instructor told me when I was a rookie, about a predator that attacked a nearby village a few years ago. It began to rampage and devour people. The citizens reported what happened. In the blink of an eye, everyone was paralyzed. They couldn't even blink, unable to do anything. All they could do was wait for their turn. As Goth was awaiting his death, something happened. Huh. What? What is this sound? What am I seeing? The spear's attacks left a net of cuts all over the monster's body. The enraged monster began to swing its claws wildly. Jeffer ducked to avoid them and charged forward again. As expected, the ability to increase fear works well. Among my 9 blessings, only one is a weapon. In any case, I need a massive amount of power, so I can't use it right now. But he created a magic orb. This should be enough for those dogs. A potion was used. An old friend. The Poison King. Peth's number 68. The 72 Toxins of Vireo. He once asked the other man if he was really okay with it.
Peth, you've been telling me how to make poisons for so long.
Peth's voice laughed. Ha ha ha! The world is coming to an end. What's the point of hiding anything? Everything will be buried eventually, so it's better if we use it all together. Peth's voice was full of anticipation. No! I hope you'll use it. If you can kill more of that trash with my poison and save even one more person. Jeffer powerfully thrust his spear, a deadly poison made from vireo herbs. The spearhead pierced through the monster's hide. Jeffer used the momentum to slash a deep wound across it. The monster shrieked in pain. It thrashed around relentlessly as the wound bled profusely. If it enters the body, it will destroy the intestines and, above all, create infinite pain. Because the Poison King is cruel. 3 minutes until the poison spreads completely. Jeffer dodged the monster's frenzied attacks. I have to hold out until then. He attacked its leg. The monster's tail swung at him. Jeffer was sent flying, slamming into a cliff wall. The force of the blow made him grimace in pain. Jeffer's eyes widened. The monster opened its huge mouth and lunged. A vial of poison was thrown into its mouth. Couldn't ask for a better opening. He laughed and jumped aside as the monster snapped at a pile of rocks and dirt. It roared in pain. Blood gushed from the monster's mouth. 2 minutes. 1 minute. Jeffer tightened his grip on the spear. He moved like the wind rushing forward with all his might. It'll be hard to take it down completely, so it's either hold out for 1 more minute or land a fatal blow. The monster's tail swung violently. Jeffer caught its massive tail with both hands. His entire body was lifted up with the tail. He struggled to hold on tight. 1 more minute. Just 1 more minute. He let go. Now Jeffer put all his strength into a downward thrust, aiming for the monster's eyes. Ah! The spearhead stabbed deep into its eye. The monster roared madly. The spear shaft, still stuck in its eye, was swatted and snapped, flying out. Jeffer quickly grabbed the half of the spear shaft that had been knocked away. He stabbed down hard. Take the other half." He drew the dagger from his belt. His eyes were cold as he drove the blade deeper into the monster's eye. The monster thrashed about wildly in agony. Trying to throw him off, Jeffer was flung away. His fingers dug into its skin, his other hand desperately gripping the dagger to hold on. Not yet. There's still one more attack. He leaped onto its back. My current strength and stamina aren't enough to beat it. That's why I prepared recovery potions. If you drink a large amount, there's a hidden effect that maximizes your strength limit. You have to drink over 10 bottles just to see a small change, so it's not that effective. If I had a special blessing, I wouldn't need anything else. Skill Hemet's Vision. Maximize all elixir effects. Rate of increase 500%. Enough magic to crush a predator's head. Jeffer swung his fist. Basic mana usage technique. Releasing immense power, he brought it down. The force blasted through the monster's head. Goth witnessed Jeffer's entire performance. He burst out laughing. Ha ha! He recalled his earlier calculations. With my authority as a captain, if I recommend him to personnel, he could transfer to the hunting team. He could have just used it to look good in front of me, but damn it. I was too naive about his sincerity. I didn't beg or anything, it wasn't even that serious. To have to accept an offer from a nobody. I made a terrible mistake. Even if it looks bad for me, if it were him, he would have seen through it in a second. And gotten back up. It's just that right now he's only a miner in the mining team. Because they can't come and go freely, he needs a way into the dungeon. Jeffer's gaze turned sharp. Gary, let's talk for a bit. A fearful panting sound escaped. The person on the ground was terrified. No, it wasn't me. There's a misunderstanding here. The large man swung his chained mace. We were in the temple together last time, weren't we? Weren't we? The other man pleaded desperately. Sahaku, please believe me, I'm not a devil worshipper. The one called Sahaku gave the order. Crush him. The heavy mace came crashing down. Fresh blood splattered everywhere. None of the unlucky ones survived. The body of the man who was just killed suddenly twitched. A centipede crawled out of his mouth. Immediately, its body was sliced into 2 pieces. The sharp blade was still blazing with magic. Looks like the bug is out. As predicted, he was a worshipper. He wiped out 7 members of the team just to catch 1 cockroach. The person sitting behind the desk asked indifferently, "Isn't 7 a bit low?" He pointed to the jar containing several monsters. They're really stubborn to be completely burned like that. Sahaku protested. Do you even understand the method, Investigator Matthias? The remaining members must be wondering if they'll be executed too. There's only 1 month until the raid. If we don't eliminate them as quickly as possible, it'll bring you bad luck. The person in the chair mused for a moment. Matthias, he replied, understood. I'll handle the complaints from the hunter team instead. You have to make sure you get it done. Don't hold back. Act like a heresy interrogator. Sahaku smirked. Got it. At the personnel office, the staff guide said, Yes, Captain Goth of Reconnaissance Team D, please fill out this form first. Is it the same person you recommended? Identification and name, please? Goth, he replied. The minor Jeffer will arrive this week. The staff member replied, I understand, please wait a moment. The staff member explained, If you are bringing in a member from another department for a personnel appointment, the nominee becomes your responsibility. Furthermore, if performance declines due to the nominee's mistakes, this could negatively impact my personal report as captain. You agree with that, don't you? Goth replied, Yes, I agree. He thought, Of course it will. On the other hand, if he does well, it'll benefit me. Tisk, tisk. Life is just a game of chance. I never thought I'd get an opportunity like this. A little while earlier at the dungeon, Goth was stunned. What? What did you just say? You want me to ignore what just happened? The flesh-eating monster. Jefferson affirmed, correct. Goth guessed, Are you trying to take the monster's corpse? Jefferson didn't hide his intentions. It's a predator. I'm not leaving it here. We'll report this simply as a kobold hideout. The monster's corpse, the energy stones, and other items from the dungeon. A slave can't have any of those. Everything a slave acquires belongs to the temple, and everything the hunter squad gets is a small bonus and a trophy. He tapped the monster's corpse. If you take this to a broker, it'll fetch a lot of money. Goth objected, no way. Don't you see there's a whole procession of people out there to prevent that? So besides, we're trying to complete our mission. The cleanup crew will come and process all the items. Jefferson said confidently, Oh, right, but what about this? He placed his hand on the monster's corpse. A magical fluctuation arose. The huge corpse was simply gone, vanished. Goth's jaw dropped in astonishment. Subspace. No way. Usually only nobles can use subspace magic with their equipment. And he just made that giant monster disappear. It's blood, too. Jefferson called out, "Goth, don't you want a promotion? Let's clear 2 more dungeons after this one. We can share the rewards. In return, let me handle the monsters." Goth pondered thoughtfully. Clearing dungeons regularly, especially at this fighting pace, is definitely good for promotion, even if they're low-level dungeons like a kobold hideout. But my team was created mainly for reconnaissance. We have a low number of combatants, and since the beginning, we've been stuck in place for 3 years now. But if someone super strong joins, the tables will turn. Since we're the first team in the dungeon, no one else can get things this way, and we'll have exclusive rights. If a few members clear a dungeon, my evaluation will go up. All I want is a promotion. What Jefferson wants is money. It's a good deal. I just have to be careful not to get caught. Jefferson calculated, if I can sell this at a good price, I'll be out of debt. I need to get out of here as fast as possible. There's only one thing left to do here. The Knight's raid is scheduled in another month. That's why items that cause chaos across the entire continent are found there. This time, no matter what, I have to participate in the raid to get those items and change the future. The staff confirmed, registration complete. From now on, Jefferson will be a member of the Hunter Squad. I'll give you an ID card, so go to the supply station and get your basic equipment. After completing the procedure, the two left the HR office. In my past life, my Hunter Squad wasn't allowed to go on the raid after the announcement because a Hunter Squad can have up to 20 people. To get in, you need top-tier skills or something like that. I have a plan, but the problem is when I should do it. Goth said, the supply station is on the first floor of that building, the place where everyone is lining up. I'll head to that area. I have to check on Dale and Marco. Oh, right, if you want to get something. Goth's expression suddenly changed. He pushed Jefferson's head down. Get your head down. A sound of hurried footsteps. It was Saharu's group walking by. As he passed Jefferson, he seemed to sense something amiss. When Goth saw the group pass, he let out a sigh of relief. That's the Heresy Inquisition team. They're direct slaves of the Inquisition. You should treat them as higher-ups, not ordinary slaves. They have the authority to deal with us. Some people have been kicked out just for bumping into them or not greeting them, especially the guy in the middle, Mad Dog Sahaka. That guy wants to kill everyone, that's why he works under the Heresy Inquisition. He never lets his prey go, so be careful. Sahaka suddenly stopped. Hey, over there. Sahaka's cold gaze shifted over, sending a chill down Goth's spine. They heard Sahaka approaching. Excuse me a moment. There's something I want to check. He pointed at Jefferson. You. The one in miner's clothes. I'm from the Heresy Inquisition. Sahak. What's your name? Jefferson's eyes narrowed. Goth spoke up. Inquisitor, this is Jefferson. He just transferred to our team. If there's a problem as his captain, Sahak cut him off. Hey! He snapped, shut up, I wasn't asking you. An oppressive pressure radiated ceaselessly from Sahaka. Goth immediately found it hard to breathe. Under his menacing aura, the man staggered. Jefferson next to him was completely unaffected. But Sahaka's eyes stared at him like a beast hunting its prey. Now I'm sure of it. If I just stand still, nothing will ever begin. Others might not notice, but I'm the second most perceptive person here, and that guy is a top-tier master. Miner's clothes. Just transferred to a hunter squad. That means he was originally in the mining team. A new slave gets assigned after an ability test, an endurance test, a magic power test. Those who can fight are given a chance to show off their strength since hunter squads always need strong people. But a master like him was chosen from the mining team and transferred to a hunter squad. This is really unusual. The members of the Heresy Inquisition team moved in unison. Soon they had split into 5 directions surrounding Jefferson. A skilled master. Even so, it won't be too hard to acquire him. Saha smirked. I'm going to ask you a few questions. Get ready and you'd better tell the truth. Jefferson tilted his head slightly, a corner of his mouth lifting. What's this about? A sewer rat doesn't need to come crawling on its own, but thanks, Saha said arrogantly. I will ask you a few questions. Shut up and answer truthfully. Have you ever heard of the devil worshippers? Those people. No one knows more about them than I do. The devil worshippers, followers of the demon lord Tartaros. They are creatures that bring about destruction. In humanity's upcoming battle, they are the traitors to mankind. The only thing low-level members can know at this point is that they are an opposing cult that was recently formed and is in conflict with the pre-existing orders. Saha spoke. There are a few things that help me distinguish them from most others, and I am the one capable of recognizing those differences. even the smallest ones. From there, I will judge who serves the Lord of these heretics. And my instinct right now is telling me you are very dangerous." He pointed his weapon at Jeff, and from this moment on, "You'd best answer my questions honestly. I'm a member of the Heresy Inquisition Squad. Anything you do and everything you say can be used against you. Make sure you keep that in mind when answering me." Jeff stared at him intently. "Before we start, can I ask you something?" One of Saha's underlings cursed, "This son of a bitch, how dare you!" Saha signaled for him to stop. "Ask," Jefferson said coldly. "Can we change locations?" Saha scoffed. "What's wrong with right here?" Jefferson replied. "There are too many uninvolved people watching. If they happen to see something unflattering about you, I hope you'll be able to maintain your honor. But this as a member of the Heresy Inquisition Squad." But Saha's eyes turned menacing. "This son of a bitch," he sneered. "Haha, you're far too confident. So you're saying you can handle all 5 of us by yourself? Fine. Very well. The more people like you there are, the prouder I am of my mission." A magic circle formed, centering on Jefferson. Skill Crimson Field. Allies within this range will have their power increased. Duration and effect increase according to the number of users. Can be activated via equipment to compensate for the user's lack of skill. Jefferson thought, "Oh, this is getting more and more interesting. In that case, I'll start." He raised his hands into a fighting stance. "With this!" Saha's brow furrowed tightly. That stance. It's obviously just a weird fighting stance. Should I wait for him to make the first move? His body shot forward like a flash. Others might think that, but it's useless. Because I'm the strongest one standing within the Crimson Field. He swung his blade, accelerating into a series of rapid strikes aimed at Jefferson. But with his flexible body and fluid martial arts, he dodged them all. Jefferson blocked Saha's sword hand with one hand while his other, as hard as iron, shot towards Saha's face. He leaned back, then did a backflip to escape. Saha lunged forward and kicked hard at Jefferson's leg, trying to sweep him off his feet. He was ecstatic. Nice. But a moment later, his face was drenched in sweat. This guy's leg, it's like I just kicked steel. Jefferson's fist slammed down hard on Saha. He coughed up a large mouthful of blood in pain, his weapon falling from his hand. Saha collapsed to the ground after just one punch. Goth shouted a warning, "Jefferson, on your right!" A flail slammed hard into Jefferson, sending him back several meters. The large man swung the flail and laughed ferociously. "Hey, come play with me too," Jefferson said with contempt. "You've certainly got away with words, but you shouldn't talk to others like that. Otherwise, people might think you're someone's pet dog." The large man swung his flail, and everywhere the iron ball struck was smashed to pieces. The surrounding people yelled, "Ah, rocks, get out of the way!" Goth swallowed nervously. What a terrifying guy. After seeing him fight in the dungeon, I knew he was strong. But just a moment ago, he easily defeated Saha with a martial art I've never seen before. Even with that huge guy's flail, smashing the ground and throwing debris at him, he's able to easily block it all. What if he can win? Come to think of it, Saha would be furious and humiliated if he was defeated like this. He wouldn't be able to just report it to his superior officers and request a formal arrest warrant. He raised his hand in a cheering gesture. "If he wins, we won't be interrogated and can leave. Good luck, Jeff. If you lose, I'll be arrested along with you for helping. So don't you lose." The person standing next to Goth suddenly spoke up. "Ha! It's over! That fellow is really unlucky." Goth was confused. "What do you mean?" The other person explained. "Even though he's doing a great job dodging and blocking everything with his reflexes, which seemed like they were granted by the gods. But the problem is this. It had taken him far too long. He still didn't understand what time had to do with any of this. Jeff's arms were wrapped in chains. The big guy had successfully bound both of his arms. While the electric chains were active, the big guy's muscles bulged. He yanked hard on the chains, pulling Jefferson's body closer to him. Those within the range of the geochains would grow stronger over time. Jefferson's back was slashed hard by Sahak. Fresh blood dripped from his blade. "Ha, playtime's over. You should shut up now. You should have been on your knees from the start begging to be thrown in jail. But it's too late now. I'll make you regret everything you've done." Sahak's power is intensifying. Accelerated consecutive slashes used. Ha, how do you like that? You can't see a thing, can you? A cut appeared on Jefferson's face. "All of my skills have been boosted by 80%. With this wind-tearing speed, you can't even lay a finger on me." Countless cuts appeared on Jefferson's body. "If you see your fate so clearly now, then just die." Ha. The smile on Sahak's face vanished. Jefferson coldly slammed a fist onto the top of his head. Like a beaten dog, Sahak's face smashed into the ground. His eyes rolled back and he drooled. Jefferson grabbed him by the head. "What kind of fucking teamwork do you call this, huh?" Then he kneed him in the face. Sahak's head snapped back. "Ah, no way." My increased speed from the geo-chains and my defense did none of it work. Sahak fell face first to the ground. Jefferson sneered, "Because you kept buzzing around me like a fly, that big oaf couldn't do a damn thing to attack me. If you want to brag about your speed, you should have focused more on your defense." The chain was pulled taut. "Hey, you dog." The big guy. "Focus your strength over here now." Jefferson unleashed the power in his body. "Yeah, you too." Veins popped on his arms. "You motherfucker, why are you just screaming over there? Why don't you charge in and take the hit for him? Or are you afraid of fighting up close?" In my past life, if one of my subordinates had managed their team like this, I would have taught them a lesson right then and there. He pulled the chain taut in the opposite direction. The fundamental principle of using magic is synergy. The chain was yanked back towards him. The spiked ball slammed hard into the big guy. "Ah!" The onlookers gaped in shock. The man from the appraisal team lay motionless on the ground. Sahak struggled to lift his head. "What is your true identity?" Jefferson smirked contemptuously. "I thought you'd ask something better. Is that really the only question in your head? But unfortunately, you have no right to hear my answer." A person on a higher floor watched Jefferson pensively. "This can't be. That man. Did he send this one to us?" The people around them were just now snapping out of their shock. "Am I seeing things?" "What's going on, Lord Sahak?" "Lost." Sahak's eyes were filled with rage. He roared, "I'll kill you." Jefferson walked away, paying him no mind. This step of the plan is complete. The problem is once this gets to his ears, it's just a matter of time. Suddenly his body grew heavy and collapsed. Jefferson braced himself on the ground with his hands. "Ugh! I can't even lift a finger." A sudden weakness spread throughout his body. This is mana ghost, a phenomenon where pain and weakness suddenly appear when the body is depleted of mana. He gritted his teeth. My mana ran out faster than I thought. After using that move, even though I've leveled up my mana, this is still my body from 15 years ago. I'm screwed if this continues. An anomaly appeared in the air. A figure materialized from the void. I am a spirit of Psylocke. I belong to the clan of Asura, the god of debt. The user's mana has been verified as 0. Beginning collection process for the skill 1-Up Iron. 1-Up Iron. It isn't just a skill that increases defense and endurance. The truth is, fatigue and damage are accumulated as debt, and the skill activates the moment mana hits 0. Everything that has accumulated is then repaid to the body all at once. Countless adventurers mastered it and conquered high-level dungeons, but they all went bankrupt and died. Asura, the god of debt. A double-edged sword bestowed by the gods. A being who feeds on human despair. He must have been drooling while watching my fight. That bastard Asura leisurely stroked a turtle while watching Jefferson. A smug and greedy smile appeared on his face. The spirit began the repayment process. Calculating accumulated damage. 4 weights in its hand enlarged and then lowered. Judgment complete. Countdown initiated. 10, 9, 8. Tisk. My body's too heavy. I have to move 7. Damn it, I can't even take a single step. 6. His whole body collapsed. 5. He tried to bite the bandages wrapped around his left arm with his teeth. 4. An emergency recovery potion. The pulley moved. 3. Asura laughed triumphantly. 2. The weights were released with great force. 1. In a life-or-death moment, Jefferson successfully pulled open the cap of the recovery potion vial. The weights came crashing down with a roar. They stopped just 1 millimeter from Jefferson. Confirmation of mana presence. Aborting collection process. The spirit announced, "I will postpone the debt repayment until next time." With that, it vanished. Jefferson regained control of his senses and couldn't help but pant heavily. He laughed victoriously. "Ha ha! Asura, you underestimated me. Did you really think I wouldn't be prepared for this situation? I'm a pro-survivor who lasted for over a year after humanity went extinct. Avoiding your trap is a piece of cake, and if I use my mana properly, then World of Iron will be a more effective and safer skill than ever before." He spread his limbs out, lying on the ground. "Let's see now. In my past life, this skill sold for around 500 gold or more. Most skills were expensive, and this one was popular for those who wanted to run away. Even in my wildest dreams, I never would have expected this. That idiot Asura raises his hand to the sky so furious he crushes his tortoise. Jefferson groggily opens his eyes. Huh. Did I just pass out? Who am I? Where is this? The nun smiles warmly.
Welcome, dear customer. Did you sleep well?
You dreamt of me, didn't you? Jefferson was dumbfounded by the sight before him. He looks up. What do you want? The nun explains. Did I startle you waking up in an unfamiliar place? Don't worry, this is just my workshop. You must have been exhausted. You've been unconscious for quite a long time. And thanks to that, your loan is now 1 hour past due. The expression on her face changes. Dear customer, are you insane? She takes out a sharp knife. I heard you've gotten yourself into some rather dangerous business, and since you've been messing around with your guarantor, your interest payments are overdue as well. If this keeps up, then we can only assume you have no intention of repaying your debt. The tip of the knife suddenly thrusts forward, stopping right before Jefferson's pupil. The nun, furious, snarls, You bastard, are you going to pay or not? Just then Jefferson remembered. That's right. I have a loan with this place, too. If I use magic here, that whole Collection 10 process will start over. I have to tell her about that thing. So he quickly spoke up. Next week I'll be getting a reward from clearing a dungeon. Please just wait until then. The nun retorted aggressively. Of course we'll be taking that. But what about the loans you take out every day? And the compounding interest you haven't paid back? How do you expect to pay off the interest that's skyrocketing daily while you wait for that measly little reward? You're talking about kobold carcasses. You think that's going to be enough to cover your debt? So what's your plan, huh? Want to start selling off your organs? She gives an order. You too. The men reply, Yes, ma'am. The rope on one of Jefferson's hands is cut. 2 burly henchmen grab his arm and slam it onto a table, one of them holding a knife. The nun covers her mouth with a dark smile. For now, I'll just be taking a finger, dear customer. You must have underestimated this temple. But you'll probably change your tune after losing a finger or two, wouldn't you say? Jefferson shouts, Wait. He thinks that name. What was it? If I can just remember that name. The nun orders, Cut it. The man with the knife raises it. Jefferson's lips move, uttering a name. The nun's eyes widen. Just as the blade is a millimeter from his finger, she yells, Wait. This guy. She asks, Hey, what the hell are you? A servant asks, Is something wrong, sister? The nun orders, All of you get out. The servant is taken aback. Yes, ma'am. The nun screams, I said get the hell out! The servants, flustered, say, Yes, ma'am. Whoa, the sister is furious, let's scram. The room falls silent. The nun slams her hand down next to Jefferson's head. She leans in close. Tell me the truth. How do you know that name? A smirk plays on Jefferson's lips. How could I not know that name, sister? Or should I call you the monster broker Wiso, a nun from the Temple of Light, Anna Primrose? And her second identity is the broker Wise Rose, the one who deals with the underworld trading in monster carcasses equipment and even human intelligence. You'd have to be crazy to try and clear a dungeon with just the cheap equipment from those hunters. That's why I had to negotiate with this woman, to get some better gear. He says, I was actually on my way to find you, to be welcomed by you like this. I couldn't be happier. So why don't you untie me first? Don't you find it a little difficult to negotiate while I'm still lying on a table like this? Why don't we try having a civil conversation? Things are thrown and shattered in a fit of rage. A medic advises, Sir, please calm down, please calm down. Sahak remembers Jefferson's contemptuous smirk. Is that all you've got? You don't have the right to know. He trembles with rage, cursing. How dare that bastard? I'll kill him, I'll definitely send him to hell. Someone walks in. What is all this mess? Who's the fool causing a disturbance in the hospital? Sahak is startled. Lord Ness. He quickly gets out of bed. You're here, my lord. Ness gestures. Just stay where you are. Sahak orders his men, Hellos, you're all dismissed. I'll handle this. The 2 men reply, Yes, sir. Ness says, I heard what happened to you. Sahak says anxiously, I'm sorry, my lord, I messed up But it's all over now. There's no need for you to worry. A dagger flashes, cutting the side of Sahak's mouth. Ness's expression turns fierce. No need to worry. Everyone I've met tonight has been babbling on and on about this incident. And you tell me not to worry about it. Sir Matthias always told me not to do anything that would bring us shame, yet you dare get your ass handed to you in front of those slaves like some useless mutt. The sharp blade swept across as fresh blood dripped down. I guess the reason you got away with doing such stupid things is because the people already know your type. When you first found those Demon King worshippers, I thought you had some special talent, Sahak. However, including those demon worshippers from back then, the number you've found in the past half a year is a mere 2. The higher-ups feel you're losing your value. They're wondering how much longer they have to put up with you. And now you've turned our holy temple into a laughingstock in front of everyone. Sahak trembled, pleading, "Sir, please give me one more chance. Anything, I'll do anything, so please." Ned stepped forward. "Let's stick to what we always do." He leaned down. "Don't let those who disgrace us live. We'll decide your fate after that." Sahak trembled. "If I can't even do this, it means they'll strip me of this crimson uniform." Ned tossed him a bundle. "Use this." Sahak opened it. This belongs to the Demon King worshippers," he gasped. "Sir, isn't this—" Ned cut him off. "It was in the room of those demon worshippers you captured last time. But it's up to you whether you use it or not. However, you don't have time to be picky about how you carry out your mission. Make a choice you won't regret later." Sahak was left alone in the room. Mad Dog Sahak, the enemy of everyone in the Hunter Corps. The total number of hunters killed at the temple over the years had reached 26. For him to go back to being a slave after all this would be no different than handing himself over to them. Sahak burst out laughing. "Ha ha 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 ha!" He gripped the magic orb tightly. "Don't mess with me. My life was finally getting better. I just barely escaped that miserable life down there. I can't let it end here. The one who has to die isn't me, it's him." Ned could still hear Sahak's echoing laughter. He ordered, "Remember to keep an eye on him so he doesn't cause us any trouble." "Yes, sir," his subordinate replied. Ned smirked. "A man must understand his situation objectively. That way you won't be cast aside like him." What a joke talent. He didn't understand the real reason they took in someone like him. The other man mused, "Well, maybe we should thank him. It's because Sahak caused such a scene that the knights won't suspect us." Ned laughed smugly. "Ha ha! We'll intercept the items from the Temple Knights by infiltrating their upcoming raids. At the same time, we can also eliminate the temple's leader in the dungeon and in the name of the Demon King, take over the Temple of Light in the 3rd District. Bestial disciple of the Demon King Worshippers Society. This is a crucial mission that will change the religious dominion of the Demon King. I will not allow any disruptions." "All right," he instructed. "Investigate that guy, too." The other man asked doubtfully, "That guy? What do you mean?" But Ned suspected he used our school's martial arts. But the only ones who know those moves are the Master and us 4 disciples. Was he sent here by the Master? If so, why didn't he contact us properly? He's very suspicious. Since I can't risk approaching him and exposing our information, I'll use Sahak to confirm it. And if I find out he's not on our side, I'll just eliminate him. The nun dug her fingernails in.
I don't understand. I thought this guy was just crazy."
"But this is incredible." "Hey," Jefferson asked, "you like it?" The nun startled. "Huh, do I like it?" She cleared her throat. "Anyway, let me list it again. The 4 items on the sell list, Shark Predator, no longer has magic. Brain and bones are partially damaged. Purchase list, high-grade talisman, ×5, enchanted rosary ×1, flint ×1 sun herb, moon herb, deer antler, etc., etc. She said confidently, "There's nothing on this list that I can't get. The problem is the money. 5,000 gold in total. You'll have to catch 3 more predators." Jeffer accepted. "Piece of cake. I'll have them ready in 3 weeks. Make sure you get the items by then." He looked at the bottle on the shelf. "But before that, I have one more request." The 3 members of the hunting party sat down with Jefferson. Goth spoke up. Well then." He raised his beer mug. "Even though we've already met, let's introduce ourselves again. This is our team's vanguard, Marco." Marco greeted them. "Nice to meet you." "And this is Dale. He only joined 3 months ago, but his skills are incredible." Dale didn't say a word. Goth looked at Jeff. "And this is the rookie we've all been eager to meet, Jeff," he shouted. "All right, everyone, bottoms up." The heavy silence made him frown, and he signaled to the other 2. "Hey, are you kidding me? What's wrong with you guys? You have to know how to liven things up together. This is the guy who's going to be a huge help to us in the future." Marco thought nervously, "What do we do?" "It seems like he doesn't like us very much. Is it because our welcome party is so lame? But this is the best food I could find, because we still have to pay off our debt." Jefferson broke the silence first. "Let me say this." He reached behind him for something. "Personally, I don't drink horse piss." He placed a bottle of wine on the table. The other 3's eyes widened in craving. Oh, wait a minute. Where did you get that? In a rundown town like this, Jefferson had prepared this. This is wine I bought from Wise Oz. It's a high-grade type that slaves like us wouldn't even dare to dream of. He poured wine for everyone. Have a drink. I'll be counting on all of you from now on. The other guys warmed up to him. You're a better guy than I thought. The four of them clinked their glasses. I can definitely achieve good results with these people, and they'll help me deal with the monsters around here. Like it or not, from now until the subjugation, we're comrades. Since I was on the same team as Goth in my past life, I already know how to handle him. He improves very quickly as long as he has a good mentor. However, as for the other two, in my past life they were already dead by this point, so I don't know much about them. Should I try to cooperate with them, or should I eliminate them as soon as possible? Well, I still have enough time to make a decision. People tend to favor those who can provide them with the things they want and need. Give money to the greedy, deliver results to the ambitious, and flatter the smug. His gaze shifted. However, there are always exceptions to these rules. But even if he is an exception, I'm not the type to be nice to someone who's always looking to pick a fight with me. Dale secretly glanced at Jefferson. I can't stand this bastard. When Goth visited them in the infirmary, he had said, he'll be a great help on the next mission. I'm level 4 and you're 5. Don't you understand that a single level of difference affects how we're treated by others? You guys need to be civil with him, you hear? When he arrives, give him a warm welcome. Marco spoke up. I still can't believe that miner saved our lives, and now you're making a deal with him. Dale spoke up. Goth, since you're the captain, you have the final say in this matter. But don't you think it would have been better to discuss it with us? To be honest, I think that bastard just got lucky. He's just acting like he did it all while we were unconscious. There's no way a miner could kill a predator on his own. Goth laughed, pointing to himself. Ha! So who killed it then? Me, Dale interrupted. The problem is the deal. If we get caught, we could be thrown in jail. We could even be executed. Those monsters, Marco gestured for him to be quiet. Quiet, someone might hear you. Anyway, we already decided to let him join the team. Besides, the reward will be split between the three of us no matter what. I think we should just see how it goes. Dale slammed his glass down. Are you kidding me? See how it goes? You idiots. Even if the so-called captain has made his decision, and the other one has been bought with wine, he glanced at Jefferson. I still don't trust you. How dare he try to worm his way into our ranks? And in time, we'll soon see his true colors. Frauds like him don't last long in the hunter business. That's right. The dungeons will teach him a lesson. The four men arrived at the cave town of Edeline. This was a town formed hundreds of years ago by people building their homes into the mountains. Marco marveled, whoa, I didn't know a place like this existed. Just a 2-day journey from the temple? Dale looked into the distance. Are all of those actual houses for people to live in? That's fascinating, Goth explained. It's even more spectacular on the inside. It has everything from living rooms to bedrooms, you name it. That's why people traveling from the temple in this direction, or those sent on diplomatic missions, are chosen to stay here. Back when I was a rookie, I visited this place once. Marco grumbled jealously. Is that so? You should have brought me along back then instead of deciding to bring me here, after it's already become the monster den it is now. Figures appeared at the entrance. The inside was thick with spiderwebs. Skill mana application, mana wave. Jefferson moved between the strands. I can expand the range of my senses by emitting mana from my body or channeling it through the ground. Within the radius of the mana wave, I can sense everything from the shape of objects and sudden movements to magical artifacts. We could all see it crystal clear. The people who had been following in his footsteps were astonished. An ironclad spider. The place we're heading to has that kind of monster, Jefford replied. Yeah, you can tell from the tracks at the entrance. For now, here's our plan. First, we'll move through the dungeon without touching any spiderwebs to get close to the pit containing the spiderlings. After that, we'll pour a paralyzing potion into the pit and wait until we can easily kill them. It won't be simple because I'll have to constantly maintain my mana wave skill while we're in there. However, they sleep during the day, so as long as we're careful, Dale shouted. Hold on. The issue isn't whether it's difficult or not. If you're sure there's an ironclad spider in there, then the four of us can't possibly clear that dungeon. The ironclad spider is a type of monster with a shell as hard as steel. Its attack stat is high, but its defense stat is even higher. The most terrifying thing about them is their reproduction speed. That's why a nest of ironclad spiders is even harder to deal with than an adult predator. Dale said, "That's not a place we can handle. Let's go back and report this. We should at least bring a combat squad." Jefferson replied, "That's not a bad idea. If you're not confident, I won't force you to come with us. In any case, I'm more than capable of handling this place by myself." Dale thought to himself, I didn't expect him to say that. But thanks to him, I know for sure now. That bastard is a fraud. The stories about him hunting a predator alone and dueling with someone from the Sahak Heresy inspection team, I never saw any of it with my own eyes. He's confident that he can clear it alone. An ironclad spider nest, there's no way someone at that level would be working with people like us. That means this dungeon isn't actually that dangerous. He's acting all high and mighty on his own. He probably didn't expect us to still follow after his warning. Let's just see how long you can keep this act up. His arm brushed against a spiderweb. Dale froze. How could I make such a stupid mistake? Why is it so sticky? He cursed. Damn it. Countless spiders emerged from the darkness. Dale's face went pale as a swarm of black iron spiders rushed their prey. Dale screamed, "Ah!" Jefferson looked towards the commotion. "They're here." He quickly grabbed Dale and pulled him back. The black iron spiders bit down on his arm, but their fangs couldn't pierce his skin. Jefford smirked. "What's wrong? Surprised you can't bite me?" His other hand clenched into a fist. He sent the black iron spider on his arm flying with a single punch. A splash of thin blood landed in front of Dale. Jefferson commanded, "Everyone gather up." The four of them gathered in one spot. A few black iron spiders started shooting webs. After all, this was just a plan in theory. I didn't know for sure what would happen inside the dungeon. So if we have to fight, this is what we'll do. Marco, wrap my cloth around your hammer. Dale, Goth, use your cloaks to wrap your weapons too. It's hard to cut through their webs with a normal blade. So everyone needs to use your cloth-wrapped weapons to brush the webs away. Marco realized, hey, this actually works. Even though the webs stick to my hammer, I just have to keep swinging. Because a single spider is weak. Goth cursed under his breath. Damn it, just how many of these things are there? Dozens! Hundreds! I can't even get a break! Dale roared. Get away from me, you bastards! A black iron spider dodged his strike. It slashed his shoulder, drawing blood. Dale shouted, Hey, hurry up! Once we've gathered the monsters, I'll take care of them. The smaller black iron spiders were dealt with. The sounds of heavy breathing filled the air. The other three were exhausted. Did we get them all? Dale clutched his wound. Ugh. Damn it, the wound is too deep. I shouldn't have been so careless and thought this would be simple. I've humiliated myself and had to rely on the help of that bastard. Jefford handed him a potion. Drink this. It's a potion mixed with herbs that has the same effect as a recovery potion. Dale was silent. Throughout the entire battle, this bastard knew exactly what was happening. His awareness and perception are on a completely different level. If he's that confident, he must have known from the start that I was the one who would get caught in the web. He asked, Aren't you going to say anything? Jefferson said casually, Everyone makes mistakes. Just be more careful next time. He silently watched Dale. I'm already used to this sort of thing. In my past life, I always had to train soldiers. No matter how meticulously I instructed them, there were always plenty of fumbling idiots. This time it wasn't a problem because he was focused on dealing with the consequences after making that mistake. And it's better to let him experience it for himself than to just listen to me ramble. Although it seems he still doubts me. But after we're done with this dungeon, he'll be able to decide for himself whether he should stay away from dungeons from now on or if he should listen to me. Dale and Marco attack the giant black iron boar, one from the front and one from behind. Marco slams his hammer into its body while Goth stands to the side. Good. They're slowing down from the anesthetic. Dale thrusts his sword hard, the tip sinking into the monster. Jeff told them the flesh near the stomach is softer than on the back, so aim for the belly. Dale realizes it's true. Everything he said was right. The monster's habits, weaknesses, and stats along with the most effective way to kill them. He slashes forcefully with his sword. How does he know everything? What the hell is he? Veins pop out on his arm as he swings his sword with all his might. Dale successfully cuts a line through the monster. The black iron boar collapses. The other two celebrate. We got it. Nice one, Dale. He replies, Ha, it wasn't that hard. Jefferson speaks up. Not bad for your first time. Keep it up. He's sitting on a pile of countless black iron boar corpses that he took care of himself. Dale is terrified. Holy crap. While we were killing one, he finished off at so all the rest. The other two are also sweating. Just how many were here? Jefferson jumps down. Let's gather up. Goth, let's eat. Goth takes off his backpack. Ah, okay. Marco asks curiously, What did you do before? Jefferson replies, Do you even have to ask? I'm an adventurer? Marco quickly says, No, not that. Were you a former member of a big party? Or maybe the disciple of someone famous? Dale looks over, also quite curious. Jefferson lets out a sound. A master, huh? He remembers someone from his past. Jefferson's eyes open slightly. First, only the boss room is left. The other three are eager. So what do we need to do now? Jefferson takes a dagger out of his backpack. Goth can't help but feel suspicious as he cuts off the leg of a black iron boar. Its shin bone can be used as a weapon. This is as far as you all go. All of you get out. The other three are stunned. They don't seem to understand what he means. 4 years ago was when I worked as a hunter. During those 4 years, a lot of people died. But luckily, I survived. The main reason for that is that I always avoided dangerous bridges. I only crossed when I was certain the bridge was safe. Don't you think clearing a dungeon with such a large team is a bit of a waste? Haha, I don't think it's that easy. I guess the magic stones are low quality since they're from kobolds and I only followed people stronger than me, someone once said in a low voice. He bows his head. Thanks to that, my reputation grew very slowly. But what could I do? No one was willing to stand up and protect me. Jeffy says to his teammates with an emotionless expression, This is as far as you go. Is as far? All of you get out of here. Hearing this, the team members all agree. You were planning on fighting the boss alone from the start, weren't you? Yeah, I guess we should leave him be to avoid getting in the way. Okay. Contrary to the team leader, Mako speaks up. Jeffy, about that. Since we've come this far already. Would it be okay if we continued on with you? Hearing this, the team leader's face darkens and he grits his teeth, silently cursing Marco 8,000 times. Marco, what are you saying? Even Dale, who is next to him, agrees. I think so too. Don't you think more people would be better? The team leader is completely panicking by now. You too, Dale. This guy probably thinks they've all gone insane. Snap out of it, you guys. We'll die if we do something so reckless. He silently prays in his heart. Stop them, Jeffy. We're useless, right? And just as he'd hoped, the response is a bit unexpected. It seems you've all misunderstood. Telling you to leave doesn't mean you do nothing at all. You can't just go. I'll assign tasks to you. Hearing this, the team leader is probably so overjoyed he can't hold back his tears. A while later, he enters the Spider Queen's lair by himself. Beneath his feet are dense spider webs. Before him is their nest. He thinks to himself, almost there. Right ahead is the Spider Queen's chamber. This place is surrounded and protected by night spiders. Night spiders have the duty of protecting the Spider Queen's chamber, while the one standing majestically in the middle of the cave, that is the Spider Queen. She is the master of the spider dungeon. He scans the surroundings. He steps closer to them to observe. The spiders notice the stranger's intrusion. They stir on guard. This is probably the farthest I can go. And without being attacked. The night spiders, guarding the egg chamber, always protect the queen so she can lay her eggs. They won't leave their positions unless a creature invades the room. After finishing his observation, he begins his operation. Jeffy quickly raises his hand to summon the silver key. What he summons is a bit of flour. No more messing around. He quickly shouldered them and threw them all towards the night spiders guarding the nest. Caught by surprise, they were thrown into chaos. They scrambled to find the one who attacked their nest. After the flour slowly settled, he proceeded with Phase 2. Jeffy pulled out a crossbow, drew an arrow, and fired it straight at the monster. When the arrow hit the spider's shells, it created a spark, igniting the arrow in midair. This caused the flour dust to ignite, creating a chain of explosions. As the blast went off, he quickly ran to the side to avoid getting caught in it. After all, he knew the spiders well, of course. They wouldn't die from something like this. Just as planned, the spiders swarmed after the one who had destroyed their lair. But they hadn't run for long before they were struck by arrows. He saw that some of them had been hit by poison bolts. It was a small success. Exquisite Poison Needle. 72. Peerless Poison Kings, number 68, Valier. Characteristic extreme pain. Most of the spiders in the cave were hit by the poison needles, causing them to collapse mid-pursuit. But among them, one leader spider managed to slip through. It chased right behind Jeffy, determined not to let him escape. While in hot pursuit, it unexpectedly triggered some kind of mechanism on the wall. And just like that, it was hoisted up by its own silk. Going back a few minutes, he had given his teammates an order. This is where the black steel spiders produce their silk. If you press on them like a small pouch, the silk will come out. A teammate asked, Will this silk trap the spiders? Of course it will. They'll get stuck in the web if they don't secrete the special fluid from their eggs. He gave them the silk sacks and gave instructions. All you have to do is create a web at the spot. I told you to. Be on guard while you wait for me. There are more webs inside the hatching room than out here. We'll be at a disadvantage if we fight in there. And the most thorough plan is, we have to lure them out. Back in the present, he grabbed the rope tightly and pulled it taut. The spider trapped in its cocoon struggled relentlessly. Not keeping it waiting, he quickly swung his sword and slashed right through it. Now all that's left are the night spiders. He gave them a victorious glare filled with contempt. You're pathetic. The last night spider fell to the ground with a thud and was instantly crushed. With that done, he shot off in one direction, muttering to himself, "Here it comes." He ran for his life. Right behind him was a queen spider. The queen spider was finally making her debut. He was thrilled. "The queen's here!" In this life-or-death situation, his teammates urged him to hurry up. The moment she appeared, she puffed up her cheeks, intending to give him a welcoming gift. Then a stream of purple liquid shot out from her. As he ran with all his might, he thought, the queen's venom. This poison is a strong acid, but the scary part is its special effect. He recalled the words of a professor who once taught him, its inherent curse destroys an opponent's shields and self-healing abilities. Those with low magic energy won't even have time to be scared before they're melted, and most importantly, he had said, if you want to live, don't let it touch you. Dodge it. Following the professor's advice, he leaped high into the air, avoiding the toxic liquid. A moment later, he finally made it out of the queen spider's lair with her in hot pursuit. The spider wouldn't shut its mouth, continuing to spew poison everywhere. A boulder hit by the venom was destroyed instantly. The spider lunged towards him. "The real battle begins now!" he yelled, signaling his teammates. "Everyone to your positions!" Hearing this, the group was a bit stunned. Full of fighting spirit, he charged straight at the queen spider. Jeffy took a running start and jumped high. With 2 death scythes in his hands, he carved 2 paths across the spider's body before landing stylishly on the ground. The spider, in pain, furiously thrashed its legs about. Facing its attacks, he just stood there, stoic and emotionless. He raised his scythe to block his expression cold as he uttered 2 words, "Bring it." Hearing that the queen spider went wild, charging madly to attack him. According to the plan, I'll fight on the front line since I'm the only one who can take down this boss. Flashback to Jeffy assigning tasks. While I draw its attention, you guys will chip away at the boss's health. After hearing the plan, everyone couldn't help but break into a cold sweat. Their hands were trembling so much they couldn't hold their weapons steady. I've always avoided dangerous bridges, because my life comes first, so No. We will follow your orders. They were terrified, wondering if this day next year would be the anniversary of their deaths. They asked themselves, can we even kill this thing? Dale also gritted his teeth, sweating bullets. They thought back to the taunts from those other guys. Hey, you lot, go get our food ready. And while you're at it, clean our gear. What, you guys are hunters too? Are you kidding me? The likes of you fight. If you want to be useful, just do chores for us. That was followed by a burst of mocking laughter. The more they thought about it, the more pissed off they got. Son of a... How much longer do we have to put up with being treated like this? Dale silently made up his mind. We've come this far. There's nothing to be afraid of. He swung his sword, showing his resolve. We can take it down. The captain was a little startled to see Dale like this. Mako also closed his eyes and thought, that's right. We've never tried to face monsters like this before. At most, we've only ever dealt with a few small fry, but ever since that guy joined the team, something's changed. Mako also raised his blade, thinking to himself, up until now, Jeffy has predicted everything that's happened to us with perfect accuracy. Let's trust him one more time. After analyzing the situation for a moment, he yelled, we can do this! Let's go! Hearing that the team leader just face-palmed in exasperation. Damn it, these bastards won't listen to me! If you guys are going to be like that, then I have no other choice but to pitch in. With that, he also charged forward to fight the monster alongside his teammates. As they observed the creature, they noticed its armor was cracked from the earlier explosion. According to the plan we laid out, we'll be able to deal damage if we get past its exterior. Only its outer shell is tough. The 3 of them raised their weapons and charged. Well then, let's give it a try. A spear plunged deep into its shell. Another man also lifted a heavy hammer and gave it a few loving whacks. Everyone aim for this spot. The nerve cluster is located between its 2 legs. We'll cut it there with a blade coated in anesthetic. Dale, who was in charge, gave it a few cuts with his sword, and after that he became more excited. All right, I've got a good feeling about this. While he was happily fighting away, Dale carelessly fell into the Spider Queen's grasp. His face turned pale. Crap. I can't dodge this. It looked like we were about to say goodbye to him right there. Just then, Jeffy attacked, drawing its attention. It furiously swung its pincer at him, inadvertently releasing Dale. With a cold expression, he asked it, "What are you looking at, you insect?" Hearing him say that, it seemed to understand. Its pincers clicked as it opened all four of its eyes to stare at him. Then he swung his scythe and attacked it. His face hardened, looking no different from the Grim Reaper's. Jeffy continuously unleashed a flurry of blows toward its front. It couldn't even react. Dale, watching the battle from afar, couldn't help but exclaim in awe, "His skills are insane. He's blocking every single one of the Spider Queen's attacks. He's so fast I can't even keep up." He recalled their earlier conversation. "We're so weak we can't do anything right, and you want us to be the main attackers? You'd be better off handling it yourself." Jeffy had just calmly replied, "You guys aren't strong enough. Because I'm the one who burned all the eggs, the Spider Queen will only focus on me. It won't pay any attention to you all. The important thing is..." Moreover, the armored Spider Queen has a specific trait. The more Dale thought about it, the more he realized Jeffy was right. "I knew it. It's exactly as he said. The battle has already been going on for 5 minutes. The Spider Queen will definitely stay in one spot." It jumped down because spiders usually stay in their nests to lay eggs, so they have a habit of limiting the movement of their hind legs. For that reason, the spot between its legs is usually safe. Also, aside from its stomping and web-spitting attacks, most of its attacks will focus on the target directly in front of it. I figured out this attack pattern of theirs after fighting many large spiders in dungeons. Thinking of this, his grip on his sword tightened. Not to mention, Jeffy will be drawing all of the Spider Queen's attacks. If we can eliminate its ability to move with the paralysis drug, then taking it down is just a matter of time. After thinking it through, Dale gripped his sword and charged forward to attack with that information. The three of them charged together, attacking the spider's weak points with a single resolve. "We can do this!" One attacked the flesh inside it, while another attacked its hind legs. Caught by the surprise attack, the enraged Spider Queen immediately used its front legs to swat the three of them away. It roared, its maw gaping wide as if wanting to poison them to death. Just then, Jeffy took a running leap onto its body. Having completed his task, it thrashed its legs wildly in a rage, kicking up clouds of dust and sand. The three who were hit were sent flying. It was so furious it couldn't pretend to be mute anymore. "I will not forgive the humans who dared harm my children. Don't even think you'll have a peaceful death. I will use my venom to melt your entire bodies." Before it could finish its threat, a hand swung out and gave its head a loving touch. He had a firm grip on its venom gland, thinking to himself, the venom gland in its neck. After confirming it was the venom gland, he gripped it tightly. It was a bit easier than expected. Then, quick as a flash, he ripped out its poison sac and took out a piece of cloth. He tied the poison sac shut temporarily, preventing it from running rampant for the next few minutes. Looking at his handiwork, he felt a little smug. This way it won't be able to use its poison.
For the next few minutes.
After successfully shutting its mouth, he quickly got off its body and leaped away. Jeffy winced, reassuring himself, "There's nothing to worry about." The spider was absolutely livid now. It lunged, attacking him relentlessly. Jeffy weaved and dodged, avoiding its attacks. "Don't rush. Remember to be decisive," he told himself, his eyes fixed on the monster. In this battle, a tense showdown between the Spider Queen and the tiny humans, whoever lost focus first would be the loser. When the Spider Queen finally fell, the three men cheered with joy. "We did it!" They high-fived each other. "We did it!" The blonde-haired man watched them celebrate, thinking, "That's not the important part." He thought of Jeffy. He let us do it that way. That guy. As he thought about it, he had an epiphany. I get it now. When it comes to hunting, everything went smoothly thanks to the commander. He looked at Jeffy, thinking, maybe, if I keep following him, At that moment, Jeffy was looking at the fallen Spider Queen, thinking, because we can't hide the fact that there was a Spider Queen here. We can't take all the loot like we did with the Predator. Maybe I need a pair of bigger spiders to bring to Wizzo's. You should only take what you need, a voice called out from behind him. "Boss Jeffy?" Jeffy turned to see a blond man rolling out a carpet. He said caringly, "You must be exhausted, boss." "Please get some rest, boss. Leave the rest to me." Jeffy just stared at all of the blond man's actions, speechless. The young man's voice droned on and on. It was giving him a headache. I may not look it, but I'm great at chopping up monster corpses. Are you thirsty, boss? Please have some water, boss. Saying this, he handed the water to him. Jeffy took a sip and let out a long sigh. The blond man turned and said to his two other companions, "What are you two doing over there? Are you going to make Boss Jeffy wait?" The two asked in surprise, "What, boss?" Jeffy closed his eyes, thinking. With their help, he'd managed to save some energy. If things continued like this, then I won't have to worry about Asura killing me while I'm out hunting. He looked at the three young men, thinking to himself, the three of them aren't so bad. But as for their combat prowess, he didn't rate it highly. That's all they were. He figured they wouldn't be much help in a fight against that guy. From experience and equipment to manpower, they just weren't enough to face what was coming. I have to think of a plan, and fast, he resolved. Inside a magnificent, sprawling citadel, a voice spoke up. "Well, now, a predator. I didn't expect you to return with something so valuable." The girl with the golden hair dressed as a sister was... The man was satisfied with the girl's work. He handed her a bag of bonus money and said, "Here, just as we agreed. I guarantee you won't be disappointed with this, so make good use of it." The girl stared at the huge bag of money. She was completely shocked. "Oh my, this much." The girl said to the man, "Thank you. The goddess will surely reward your generosity. Do you have enough spare dimensional bags? If you need, we can give you a few." Jeffy, standing behind them, had heard their entire transaction. He watched them make the deal, thinking, she's conducting a shady deal right inside the temple. In broad daylight, no less? What an interesting sight. I suppose no one in the world is naive enough to believe that all temples are sacred places untouched by corruption. It was an obvious truth that, as the money donated by followers piled up in the temples, entire cities were built around them. This was all thanks to the temple knights and their combat slaves, who always ensured that monsters couldn't get near the city. Standing with his arms crossed, he thought, perhaps safety truly is a luxury, at least for now. People can still buy their safety with money. Later on, even selling your body might not guarantee it. Jeffy and Yizos were walking through the city. She said to him, "That was lucky. Both the predator buyer and the hard steel buyer showed up at the right time. We got a great price, too." She winked at him. "But I didn't expect you to get the hard steel." "And so quickly." "You're more impressive than I thought." He paid no attention to her words. He only cared about the money they had made. He asked her, "So how much did we make?" She thought, "He's so handsome but so cold." She looked at the ledger and told him, "We've reached 48% of our goal. 20% of the sales went to paying off our debt to the temple. Also..." As she spoke, she handed him a set of clothes. She said, "I've requested to have the research lab cleaned. These are the work clothes and the access card you'll need." She looked at the rental list for a silver alchemist set and said, "Because real alchemist sets are usually quite large and have a lot of important equipment, I couldn't find a way to borrow one. Everyone in the research lab leaves at 7 o'clock, so you can use the place freely after that. Just remember to clean up properly when you're done." Jeffy thought, that works. In any case, this is safer than stealing. Since they always need someone to clean the research lab, they might just call for me tonight. He said to her, "There's no other way then." She smiled and linked her arm with his. "Don't worry, you'll get paid for the work too." Suddenly a voice called out, So you were here, sister." Jeffy turned to look completely surprised by the person who had just appeared. A red-haired young man in a cloak approached them. He said to the girl, "I was looking for you, sister. There are a few things I need to report. If it's all right, could you spare a moment to speak with me?" He was speaking to the girl, but his eyes were fixed on Jeffy, and Jeffy was completely stunned. He never expected to run into him here and now. That's right, Jeffy knew him. He was a member of the heretical appraisal team, one of only 12 rank 1 appraisers and an extremely capable member at that. He's even officially recognized by the temple itself, he thought. And to me right now, he's... The girl smiled back at Net. "Oh, what's up? Don't tell me you're about to ask me out on a date. So, are you here to borrow money?" "Oh dear, I have something I need to take care of right now," she thought. Even though he's talking to me, his real target is the guy behind me. Net is Sahaku's superior, and Sahaku was the one who got beaten to a pulp by the guy behind me. I knew they'd try to pull something the moment they had a chance, but this is just too bold. I can't believe they'd dare to start trouble right in front of a sanctuary apostle. Thinking this, she said to Net, "Let's talk some other time, okay? Next time I'll even lower the interest rate on your loan. After all, you have a great reputation here, Net." Net said to her, "What if I have something urgent I need to ask? I'll even treat you to some tea." He turned to Jeffy. "Why don't you come along too?" What do you say, huh, Jeffy? Net continued. Come to think of it, you're pretty close with our Sahaku, aren't you? Jeffy looked at him and said, Sorry, my memory isn't that great. I can't seem to recall useless people. Their eyes met sparking with hostility as both of them began to radiate power. Their auras gleaming brightly clashed. Net's was red, Jeffy's was blue. The magical power radiating from them was so strong it sent birds scattering in a panic. The girl broke out in a cold sweat trying to withstand it. She thought, what? No way. This immense magical power. I never expected such a powerful reaction. This guy, he's not just some ordinary combat slave. He must be on par with the sanctuary. No, maybe even more powerful. Red thought being this close makes me understand why. Sahaku couldn't hold back and just attacked him. Net focused his magical power into 2 fingers. He thought I didn't come here looking for a fight today, but screw it, let's have some fun. With that thought, he unleashed his magic to attack Jeffy, making him want to curse under his breath. This bastard. Seeing them about to clash again, the girl yelled, Both of you kneel! Since this was the sanctuary, even though they were reluctant, the 2 of them had to kneel. The angry girl raised her hand and slapped Jeffy. She grabbed him by the collar and yelled, You reckless fool! Have you lost your mind? Are you trying to get yourself killed? I need to teach you a lesson. Follow me. Now. As she walked away, she said to Net, And one more thing, Net. She turned and warned him, This kid is my toy. If you lay a hand on him, I swear I'll kill you. Net was furious, but did nothing, silently taking the threat. Out by the staircase, Jeffy leaned against a wall while Wyro sat on the steps and said to him, Can you please not try to fight everyone you meet? That bastard is seriously dangerous. She paused for a moment, then said with a nervous laugh, Look, I'm still trembling. She continued trying to make him understand. He's a rank 1 appraiser, so of course he's incredibly strong. On top of that, nobody knows his fighting style because everyone who has ever seen him fight is already dead. She stood up and yelled in Jeffy's face, You are so exhausting. Do you have any idea how much trouble you cause by recklessly jumping into dangerous situations like that? It makes things incredibly difficult for me, you know. If you cause any more trouble, you're dead to me. Outwardly, she was scolding Jeffy, but inwardly she was thinking, You're my golden goose, so you'd better take damn good care of yourself. After scolding him, she sighed and reached out to touch a wound on his face. And remember to be careful, she said. I can't protect you outside of the sanctuary, you know. Jeffy pushed her hand away. I was just saying hello. If he had been serious about fighting, not even you could have stopped him. He thought him showing his face like this means their preparations are almost complete. I need to hurry up too. He hurried away. Seeing him leave, she asked, Where are you going? The research lab, Jeffy replied. He paused. Also, there's a favor I need to ask you. The girl clenched her fists, thinking, What now? Meanwhile, as Net walked, he thought, So this is the power of the slave seal. How infuriating. He recalled the time the Patriarch wanted him to be branded with the slave seal. He had gone to him and demanded, Patriarch, what is the meaning of this? Are you telling me to become a slave to the Sanctuary of Light? You want me to be branded with that filthy slave seal? In his anger, he did not notice the old man's expression and continued, You know how much I despise them. So why would you still... The old man angrily cut him off. Net, he said, 2 of our people who infiltrated the sanctuary disguised as clerics have just been exposed and executed. Hearing the Patriarch's words, Net was stunned. How is that possible? The old man continued to explain to him that they had already tightened security. Our remaining brothers in there are doing their best not to get caught. We can't use this method anymore. After finishing a stroke, the leader continued, However, there is still a way for us to plant someone inside. The Apostles of Light don't suspect those who have been branded. As long as you have the mark, they won't do anything. We have to take advantage of that. The old man put the brush behind his back and said to him, You will let yourself be branded, then infiltrate the Sanctuary of Light and steal the spoils they've gathered from the dungeons. Net thought to himself, This is a mission only a newcomer can accomplish. The Apostles of Light have no idea that we've found a way to nullify the slave seal. However, now is not the time. We have to wait for the right moment. When that time comes, we will definitely make them pay those trash Apostles of Light. In a small village, the people were repairing a fence. They called out to each other, Hey, let's eat first. A man turned around and asked, Oh, is it time for a meal already? The workers took a break to eat. They said to each other, We have to do this every single month. Why does the fence keep breaking all the time? Well, it's not like we have a choice. A small village like ours can't afford the sanctuary's protection. That's why we have to build a fence like this. A man stood up, looked into the distance, and said, "If we ever run into a monster, I'll smash its head in like this." Suddenly he shouted, "Hey everyone, I think someone from the sanctuary is here." Hearing this, the villagers asked in surprise, "What?" A blond man with a mark on his forehead approached. A villager went up to greet him. "What brings you to our humble village, sir?" He ignored the question and asked another, "How many people are in this village?" The man who had greeted him said, Probably around 50 people." Hearing this, he said, "Not bad." Then he blew into a red object. As he blew, a brilliant purple power radiated from him. This power attacked the villagers who were helpless to resist. The village was filled with gruesome blood and gore. The man recalled when Giuseppe defeated him. He gritted his teeth and thought, "For the humiliation he caused me, I'll make him pay 100 times over." He let out a loud, ferocious laugh. Meanwhile, in the laboratory of the Temple of Light, a place dedicated to researching and crafting poisons and equipment, Giuseppe was at work. He selected several types of poisons: peony bark, 6-herb dregs, corpse fluid, mushroom rotting kobold, and gray goat corpse mushroom. He thought, "What if I boil these ingredients with the queen spider's venom?" Acting on his thought, he put everything into a vial and set it to boil. After it boiled, he picked up the flask with tongs and held it up. Looking at his creation, he thought, "It's complete. Fets 72, Masterwork Poisons number 61 Dragon." In a room, Yosei held a piece of paper sitting on the bed and watching Giuseppe sharpen a knife. She recalled a conversation she had with him. He had said, "I'll die if Net and the other Inquisitors bother me. Please help me." She had been surprised. Letting you borrow my room is a bit..." Before she could finish her sentence, Giuseppe had interrupted her. "You said you'd protect me while I'm in the temple. Besides, wouldn't you lose money if I died?" Finishing her recollection, she thought, "He's not wrong, since I've already helped him." She looked down at the paper. What the hell is this? On the paper was a drawing of a human body covered with dots marking the pressure points. At that moment, Giuseppe looked at a log. He thought, "Asen wood is as hard as metal." He struck the log with his palm. Under such a powerful blow, the log shattered into many small slivers. Yos thought to herself, "Incredible." She leaned down and asked him, "How did you split it so easily?" Giuseppe was heating them over a flame. He answered her, "They're needles. In the East, they use them for healing." After heating all the needles over the fire, he soaked them in a solution of Bellio and Jago diluted at a 1:100 ratio for 10 minutes. He thought, poisons are so easy to use. Their only purpose is to kill someone effortlessly. That's what everyone thinks. Who would have known when demons invaded this world, and the gods took back the powers they had given? After a moment, he lifted a needle. The part soaked in the solution had changed color. He looked at them and thought, "We can only rely on poison." He took a needle and stabbed it into his own shoulder. As the needle pierced his flesh, blue veins spread across his skin. He coughed up blood in agony. Seeing this, the girl ran over. "Oh my God." Seeing the girl about to approach him, he waved his hand, signaling her not to come any closer. She remembered his words, "Don't be surprised by what happens next. When I give the signal, do as I say." At the time, she was bewildered and didn't understand what he meant. But now she understood completely. She asked him, "What in the world are you doing?" He crossed his arms and said to her, "Upgrading." He recalled, "Fets 72 masterwork poisons change completely depending on the dilution level and when you create a reaction. Contrary to the diluted poisons, the poison has now turned into a solution that enhances your abilities." After sticking the needle in his shoulder, he was in extreme pain. He gritted his teeth and endured it. He thought, "The problem is I've combined Bellio, which causes extreme pain, and Jago, which is unstable." Giuseppe gritted his teeth, thinking, "I'm going to experience excruciating pain and my ability to control it will diminish. But I don't have the ingredients or the formula to create something more stable." He sat cross-legged and began to circulate his internal energy. Internal energy circulation is a technique for channeling energy. Developed in the East, it's used to hone magical power. It's a technique to stabilize magic through the mana circuits. He could control the flow of mana to heal internal injuries, and repeated use would increase his mana limit. He thought, "Through internal energy circulation, I can control the toxicity by circulating my magic. If I succeed, I can raise my stats to a higher level. But if I fail, my physical body will disintegrate." Giuseppe closed his eyes and thought, "So what? This is nothing, I can take it." He remembered that terrible time fighting the monster. Just then, Wifros was observing him closely and saw the blue veins on his body. He had returned to normal. Before the first needle, he had instructed her, "Once I'm done, I won't be able to move, so keep an eye on things. When I give the signal, stick the other needle in here." After speaking, he pointed to the crown of his head and asked, "Do you understand?" Wife Rose held the needle, thinking, "A poison needle into the middle of his head. I don't need to be told what will happen if this fails. Death." She broke into a cold sweat, raising the needle to the top of his head and wondering, "What should I do? Can I really do this?" A few hours later, in the northern forest near the Temple of Light, a red beam of light shot upwards. The beam formed a circle with a plus sign in the middle. A flock of birds was chasing and attacking people. People armed with swords and axes scattered chaotically. As they ran, everyone shouted, "They're catching up to us! Run, run!" While running, they cursed the scout dogs, saying, "They said it was the only nest, but there are dozens of birds gathered here. Has anyone called for help yet?" A man in a red hat said, "I've already fired the flare. The rescue team will be here soon." He yelled, "Just keep running to the temple." Before Kiok could finish his sentence, a bird snatched him away. Blood splattered. The giant birds were now devouring people. A man in black ran with all his might towards the temple, thinking, "Just 5 more kilometers to the temple. Just 20 more minutes." Even though it was midday, the only sounds were the footsteps of the remaining survivors fleeing, mixed with the cries of the giant birds. After running for a while, the man in black was clearly exhausted, panting heavily with sweat pouring down his face. He looked up to see a flock of birds surrounding him. He thought, "I'll be nothing but bones in 20 minutes. A bird opened its beak and lunged toward him. Terrified, he backed away relentlessly. With no other choice, he raised his wooden shield to block the bird's attack. He fell to the ground, watching the bird attack him. He let out a scream that echoed through the night. Suddenly, a blast of white energy shot toward him. It turned out the power came from Jeffy. He punched the ground and it cracked into pieces. Jeffy looked up at the flock of birds advancing on him. He stood up, gathering his power to face them. One of them moved forward to peck at him, but he quickly dodged to the side, avoiding the attack. He then jumped up and grabbed the bird by the head. It screeched as he used his strength to jerk its head upwards, pulling so hard that its neck bone snapped. A piece of white bone emerged along with blood. Seeing this, the rest of the flock didn't dare to advance, only letting out loud cries. He thought, 12 monsters outside the dungeon. Total bird neck bones are 12. Perfect. He looked at the remaining birds, then used his power to shoot beams at them, annihilating every last one. The man in black witnessed Jeffy fighting the flock. He was stunned by Jeffy's power. He had destroyed 12 birds all by himself. Seeing the symbol on Jeffy's arm, he thought, "Reinforcements from the temple, have they arrived?" He thought fearfully, but he's all alone right now. A voice cut through his thoughts. "Where's the nest?" It took him a moment to react. He replied, yes." He pointed the way for him. "If you continue down this path..." Before he could finish, Jeffy had already rushed forward, leaving a streak of white light in his wake. The man in black thought, "Freaking awesome." He was now left standing alone amidst a pile of corpses. He thought, "I felt an irresistible killing intent from him, just like when I get a mission from a superior officer. That's why I immediately told him the way to the dungeon entrance. After I came to my senses, I regretted not asking him something important, but that was long after he had disappeared. 4 out of 7 of my team members died in that dungeon, and 3 managed to escape. Only I survived." He propped himself up on the ground, thinking, "That place is too dangerous. I should have stopped him." He clutched his head. "I have to wait for reinforcements. I should have stopped him from going there alone. What should I do now?" He kept his head in his hands. Then his eyes widened at the sight before him. He stood up and looked ahead toward a source of red light. He thought in astonishment, How is that possible?" From the direction of the red light, Jeffy was dragging the head of the final boss. When he arrived, Jeffy clapped his hands together to dust them off and looked at his arm. He thought, "My body feels so light. It seems my stats have doubled or maybe even increased 2.5 times. It was a success. It'd be even better with the right equipment." He fired a blue flare into the sky while thinking, "What kind of gear should I get?" A blue flare was the signal that the danger had been resolved. In the darkness, a man in a black cloak sat in a gloomy dark space. He thought, soon. A few days earlier, at a magnificent castle, a nest of ATC toads went out of control. They were frantically charging at the people. Furthermore, the medium-sized nest was led by a 30-meter-long boss. It was destroyed by a slave. That person was Jeffy. He destroyed them using only his bare hands. Elsewhere in the castle's basement, Lucius was walking with Matthias Grimmer. They were talking about the slave who could take down that nest of crazed birds.
both the evidence at the scene and the witness testimonies. He's trying to get noticed so he can join the raid in 20 days. Grimmer continued, "It's obvious he wants to join the raid team."
Grimmer looked at Lucius, his lips curling into a slight smirk. "Should we interrogate him? To make sure he isn't a demon worshipper. You are the high-ranking heresy inquisitor of the 3rd Division of the Temple of Light." Lucius replied in an incredibly grim tone. "No." The corners of his mouth turned up into a faint smile. "Let him be. Lucius is the commander of the Knights of the Lucius Jonetti Temple 3rd Division of the Temple of Light." Hearing this, Grimmer immediately turned to Lucius, curious and a little alarmed. "But if we don't filter out the demon worshippers before the raid—" Before he could finish, Lucius cut him off, yelling, "No matter how thoroughly we investigate, we'll never be able to weed them all out." Then his face darkened. A cunning smile spread across his face. "As long as they're useful, it doesn't matter if they're heretics or not." Hearing these words, Grimmer was completely stunned by Lucius's treachery, his jaw dropping. "What did you just say?" Lucius walked forward, clasping his hands behind his back nonchalantly. "They're not strong enough to make it to the boss room anyway. That's why they've been reduced to petty thieves." As Grimmer heard these words, he looked at Lucius with utter contempt. Lucius continued, "Therefore, we'll use them to get to the boss room, then eliminate them along with the boss." Grimmer closed his eyes and turned away, trying to suppress his disgust. "Sir Lucius, you are the commander of the Vanguard, are you not? As someone who has known you for 25 years, do you remember I opposed that plan from the start?" Hearing this, Lucius burst out laughing, his mouth wide open. "Ha ha!" Lucius's voice was calm. "And that's why I'm showing you this, my friend. Because you worry too much." The two of them went down to the end of the basement where a room emanated an intense chill. Lucius stepped forward and boldly threw the door open. Looking inside, Matthias Grimmer's jaw dropped, looking like it was about to hit the floor. His face was drenched in sweat, completely shocked and horrified. "This is inside the room," were meticulously carved statues of angels bound by chains that sealed them. In the statues' hands were a spear and a shield radiating an immense aura. Lucius turned to face Grimmer, who was standing frozen staring at those things. Lucius looked at Grimmer and gave a triumphant smile. "The Grand Spear of Light and the Shield of Michael. I spent 1/3 of my fortune to acquire them." Hearing this, Grimmer was completely shocked and panicked, thinking to himself, "Those are the legendary items I've only read about in books." A complex mix of emotions played across his face, panic, surprise, and awe. Lucius clapped Grimmer lightly on the shoulder and whispered, "The dungeon we've spent 15 years trying to conquer. Its time is up. There's no need to worry anymore." Lucius's face was filled with confidence, his voice smug. "I am now invincible." Elsewhere, in a remote village, vibrant and warm sunlight illuminated the area. Inside a certain house, 3 young men were walking confidently down a hallway. It was Goth Dale and Mako, drenched in sweat from a tiring workout. Mako cursed in annoyance. "Damn, I haven't even properly warmed up yet. Why are there so many people at the training grounds?" And one was chugging a bottle of milk, another was fixing his hair. Dale, drinking his milk, spoke with a gentle smile and a calm voice. "It's probably because of the raid. I heard there are only 2 or 3 spots left, so everyone's fired up. They're all showing off to get in." Mako, slightly annoyed, ran a hand through his hair. Suddenly, someone was ahead of them. It was Sister Wyrose. She said in surprise, "Oh my." Seeing the sister walk by, the 3 of them bowed respectfully at a 90-degree angle and shouted in unison, "Good day, sister." She walked past them confidently, a playful smile on her face, but there was a hint of mockery in it. She said to them, "Hello, and pay back your interest on time, you trash." As the sister walked away, Mako watched her surprised. What was that about? Why was that witch coming out of our room? Inside the room, Jeffy was sitting on his bed, gently rubbing a ring on his finger. He saw the 3 of them come in. He spoke softly, "There you guys are." The 3 of them saw Jeffy with the ring on his finger, coupled with the fact that Wyrose had just left this very room. They all exclaimed in unison, "Huh! A ring?" They immediately thought, he's been with her this whole time and that ring on his finger? Could it be? Goth trembled slightly. He pointed at the ring on Jeffy's hand, his voice shaking. "Dude, what's with that ring?" Jeffy, completely calm, held his hand up in front of them, revealing the shimmering ring. "This?" he asked nonchalantly. Jeffy lowered his head slightly, a very suspicious smile on his face. "I got it from someone." The ring on his hand was the ring of purification.
It aids the wearer's mana circulation and strengthens their magic shield. He could use the curse removal skill once a day. He smiled, extremely pleased and delighted, looking down at the ring and thinking, Y-Rose really hooked me up with some good stuff. Now Jeffy glanced to the side, recalling what Y-Rose had said earlier. She had sincerely placed a hand on her chest and said assertively, "After reinforcing your equipment, this gift is pretty top-notch, you know. I can enhance similar equipment. Just tell me what you want and I'll get it for you." Finishing his thought, Jeffy smiled, extremely satisfied. He thought to himself, she prepared it for me in advance, before I even asked. How considerate. Then his lips curled into a smirk. She sure knows how to spend her money, he thought to himself. Meanwhile, Y-Rose was walking down the house's hallway. I heard from an informant in the black market. Her face was very serious as she thought about the Persephone Assassins Guild. The members of the guild are all incredibly mysterious. They all wear long black robes that conceal their bodies, so you can't see their faces clearly. They exude the aura of a graceful yet cruel snake. They use poison to boost their stats. They're legendary assassins who never forget a target, with impressive martial arts deadly poisons and top-tier hunting skills just like Jeffy. Hunting monsters, enhancing their bodies with poisons just like Jeffy, sticking hundreds of poisoned needles into their bodies to strengthen their flesh. It all starts with falling into this path, she thought. She pictured a badass image of Jeffy fighting with his dual blades. She panicked, thinking to herself, my esteemed client is an assassin from Persephone, she thought as she continued down the hall. Because Persephone's raid failed a few years ago, I heard that the high-ranking nobles who were their clients are looking for survivors and the poison they used. A smile formed on Y-Rose's lips, but cold sweat trickled down her forehead. She thought to herself, those nobles are looking for the best talent and the best poison. She then began to gesture wildly. She thought, I don't have time to find another monster corpse deal this good. I have to make him an exclusive client. The best equipment I'll buy you, the best gear, just wait for me. In his room, Jeffy realized something. He looked bewildered, thinking, she seems to have misunderstood something. Oh, well, whatever. Then his gaze became incredibly sharp. This is good, too, he thought. If White Rose spreads rumors about me, he will come looking for me. Jeffy immediately thought of a certain person's silhouette. It was the silhouette of a large man, a long sword in his hand. Suddenly, Goth tapped Giuseppe on the shoulder, his face stiff and his voice trembling. Since when have you been involved with that woman? You're quite interesting. Giuseppe was also completely shocked upon hearing that. The two of them stood frozen for a moment when suddenly Yahello spoke up. So that's why he didn't come home last night. Marco immediately added fuel to the fire. You've got to have some self-respect as a man. Hearing this, Jeffy thought, what the hell are these guys yelling about? I have something to say about the dungeon, Jeffy said. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from outside. All four of them stared at the door, frozen. After a moment, Marco went to open it. Who is it? But there was no one outside. Marco let out a surprised, huh? Suddenly, he turned and saw a piece of paper pinned to the door by a dagger. The paper read, Urgent request. Team Goji is to depart immediately and return after analyzing the situation. They looked at the words on the paper and exclaimed in surprise, who would secretly deliver an urgent request like this? But it looks like an official document. There's even a seal on it. It's the seal of the Hunters Guildmaster. The three of them were completely astonished. Seeing this, Jeffy grabbed the paper from Marco's hand, snatching it away. Let me see. After reading the words on the paper, he was extremely surprised. Then a smug smile spread across his face. This seal is his, and the request was written by Net, he thought. He prepared this invitation for me. Then, Jeffy crushed the paper. He spoke, I'll go by myself, accompanied by a smug smile. The next day, in a certain forest, Jeffy was running at a breakneck speed. There were 20 days before the temple expedition. He ran like the wind, yet his breathing remained perfectly calm, his face an icy mask. The dungeon they were to conquer was a root dungeon, the tomb of the hideous princess, one of the world's 8 enigmas from the fall of the ancient Media Empire. It was an incredibly gloomy dungeon, where only skeletal monsters steadily emerged from its entrance. Due to its difficulty, it has been conquered 15 times already, but no one has ever reached the boss room, so the standards for the expedition are very high. Jeffy continued to run for his life. One had to be in a level 5 hunter team for a year. Or participate as a priest's thrall or be sent by that thrall with a letter of recommendation? Jeffy reached a valley but didn't stop and continued running straight ahead. Only by satisfying one of the above requirements could one join the team. I'm not strong enough to reach level 5 if I start grinding now, he thought. Then he leaped powerfully. And so, this time I'll use Net. He then flew across to the opposite mountain. Net is the personal thrall of the heretical inquisitor Matthias. If I trick him and take his letter of recommendation, I'll be able to join the expedition team, Jeffy thought. Net, the one who receives missions that cannot fail. Is attacking me someone with martial arts similar to his? Jeffy's expression turned serious. He's testing me, he thought. Does he think I'm an ally sent by his master? Or just some broom-headed criminal who stole the sect's secret martial arts if he wants to take me? Jeffy landed hard, cracking a piece of the ground beneath his feet. He stood up, his body obscured by the surrounding dust and smoke, but his energy radiated clearly. I wonder how strong I am, he thought. Jeffy's face grew stern as he stared straight ahead. Opposite him was a figure also hidden by the dust. That person spoke up. You've come. His voice was smug. Hearing it, Jeffy's eyes widened. This voice, he thought. You came alone, Sahaku spoke. Seeing this, Jeffy was surprised, thinking, Sahaku, why is he here? He thought, his eyes narrowing coldly as he stared at him. Hey, go home and cry to your mommy. I don't want to play with you. Hearing this, Sahaku laughed gleefully and said, You've been running around in my head for the past 10 days. Then Sahaku looked at Jeffy. It's because of the sharp pain from the gash you gave me. He spoke angrily, continuing, I haven't been able to sleep a wink. Hearing what Sahaku said, Jeffy, with a thoughtful expression, said nothing, just watching to see what he would do. Then Sahaku, holding a sword in one hand and spinning a chakram in the other, laughed. Check out my new move. Prepare to die. Suddenly, Giuseppe's eyes appeared right in front of Sahaku, causing him to stare wide-eyed in astonishment, unable to utter a word. At that moment, Giuseppe shot past him in a flash. Thwack! A choking sound was heard from him. Now Sahaku had been struck by Jeffy. He fell with a thud face down on the ground. Jeffy said loudly, You idiot! Right now, Jeffy was thinking, Net is a perfectionist villain. He thought further, that idiot Sahaku couldn't even scout me properly. Jeffy's fist clenched tightly. Jeffy thought to himself, he must be planning something else. While Sahaku lay face down on the ground, Jeffy raised his voice and shouted, Stop watching and come out already. Are you scared? At that moment, amidst the dusty mountains, something appeared within the thick swirling haze. A loud, gloating laugh echoed out. Suddenly, some guy sitting behind Jeffy started laughing hysterically, making him pause and think as he looked at a purple octopus-like mass. It had many tentacles and seemed to be laughing gloatingly, one of its hands holding something. A curse rang out, You idiot! Turns out it was Hasaku who had recovered and stood up with a furious look on his face, saying, You're really starting to piss me off. The mass of purple tentacles began to squirm immediately, transforming into something else. It instantly transformed into something long and towering with multiple eyes and mouths filled with serrated teeth. Jeffy's eyes widened in surprise as he thought to himself. Hasaku, enraged, roared, I'm going to kill you slowly and painfully. I'll rip you to shreds. He was now riding on top of the monster. He screamed the order, Devour him, Shoggoth! This took Jeffy by surprise, leaving him frozen in place. He reached out a hand, a look of shock on his face. And now, Hasaku, with a look of pure ecstasy, laughed manically. Die! Suddenly, something made Hasaku's eyes go wide. A brilliant beam of power shot out, piercing straight through the Shoggoth's mass of tentacles, leaving Hasaku stunned. Hasaku gritted his teeth, thinking, how? The Shoggoth's tentacles were coiling into a ball. Jeffy immediately channeled his power into it. At that moment, Jeffy thought to himself, a biological weapon of the Demon King's disciples. S.H. Shoji-Goth, he continued thinking. I can't believe I'm seeing one here. The legend says that Shoggoths sleep dormant in the form of an egg and awaken when they hear the sound of an instrument containing the power of Hypnos. There's a letter that mentions the Ocarina of Hypnos. That is the instrument used to control a Shoggoth. The user can issue different commands based on combinations of sounds. It also states that it protects the user from the Shoggoth's mental corrosion. It also says that the Shoggoth is a voracious creature with no intelligence. Physical attacks are useless against it. At that moment, a footstep approached. The surrounding tentacles seemed to want to swallow those feet. The text also recounted that it grows stronger by absorbing the mana contained within the humans it eats. Now its mouth was filled with fangs and tentacles. Multiple layers of teeth and eyes were stacked upon each other, forming a truly terrifying maw. It stared intently into Jeffy's face, then it began to surround him, as if it wanted to toy with him, to play with him. Jeffy's gaze was now fixed on something. The account continues, they alone are already a great threat, but they aren't what makes the Shoggoth truly terrifying. It spoke of the mental corrosion. Merely making contact with a Shoggoth will cause a person to experience a series of horrors. These horrors correspond to their own fears, and they'll start tripping out as if they're hallucinating. Once their mind is completely eroded, they will become as crazed as an addict going through withdrawal. After that, they will completely lose control. A person who has lost control will lose all reason and kill everyone around them. A mass slaughter will unfold. A monster created by the Demon King, which worships slaughter. Hasaku stood outside watching Jeffy gradually get engulfed. He laughed gloatingly and shouted, "You psycho, you're dead for sure, kiddo." He then added, "You have no idea what's coming next." At that moment, as he was being wrapped by the Shoggoth's tentacles, Jeffy's eyes turned bright red. Hasaku said, "Those red eyes. That's the sign you're losing control. Your mind will be eroded and you'll be gone soon enough." Right then, Jeffy's eyes were crimson with rage while Hasaku's gloating laughter echoed in his ears. But Jeffy couldn't say a word. Then, curse removal. Jeffy wore a ring on his hand, standing tall like a god of war. This was the Ring of Purification. It assists the wearer's mana circulation, and it enhances their magic barrier. It can be used to remove curses once per day. Now Jeffy stood defiantly in the middle of the Shoggoth's tentacles, which continued to swirl around him in a circle. It wanted to completely devour Jeffy, while Hasaku stood outside, speechless at this very moment. A large hand suddenly grabbed Hasaku's neck, choking him so he couldn't speak or even groan. He gurgled, his eyes bulging wide, as Jeffy, his eyes filled with fury, squeezed his throat tightly. Before, all I thought about was ensuring my own survival, and the survival of those around me. Jeffy, holding his sword, lowered his head. I thought that was the obvious thing to do in this cruel world. But one day a different thought suddenly crossed my mind. He looked up at the sky filled with birds spreading their wings. Jeffy wondered what would happen if I had more comrades fighting alongside me. He continued to ask, what would happen if the rest of humanity began to unite? His voice suddenly faltered. Then the image of a certain man appeared, next an image of a girl. Jeffy said, "The person I love," standing before a grave with a crown placed in front of it. Jeffy wondered, would live longer. Hearing Jeffy say this, Hasaku broke out in a cold sweat, his eyes wide with fear. He thought to himself, what the hell is this guy rambling about? Then Jeffy, with a determined expression, said, "And so this time, I saved those I could save," Jeffy continued, "and I gave those who desired power a chance. But it seemed something displeased him. However, you don't belong in either of those groups." Jeffy's hand tightened its grip on Hasaku's neck as he raised his voice. "How many people have you fed to that monster?" "Probably around 100, give or take." At that moment, Jeffy's eyes shot wide open, looking terrifying. "How many people died for your twisted mental gratification, for your pride and arrogance?" Then Jeffy's voice rose to a furious roar. "Damn that piece of trash!" Then Jeffy, seething, reached his massive hand towards Hasaku and said, "You don't deserve to live." Immediately, Jeffy threw a powerful punch. Right after that, Jeffy landed an incredibly painful blow on Hasaku, causing him to violently spit up blood. At that moment, Hasaku vomited a pool of blood as a result of Jeffy's punch. Immediately, Jeffy continued, landing another agonizing punch on Hasaku's face, as if it was about to be crushed into a mess of jumbled teeth and lips. Then, with a look of pure determination, he thrust his hand out for a few more strikes. Thunder now echoed across the entire sky as Jeffy thought to himself, this skill starts with a single blow and with the final slap. Impunt. It attacks the very blood and bone the opponent coughs up. It stems the flow of blood and summons lightning. This is the technique known as Dragon's Cry, the fear of the Eastern people. At that moment, a hand appeared, forming a circle of power. This was now the secret martial art of the Dragon King Jeffy, combined with the appearance of the lightning finger. They began to combine, creating a sound that shook the heavens and the earth. Sophos was charred black, his mouth hanging wide open. Jeffy narrowed his eyes and looked at him, thinking, he died before he could even gasp. His entire body was electrified. It must have been excruciating. He didn't waver in the slightest, seeing Sophos die before him in the most painful way possible. He sneered to himself, "A fitting end for scum like you." Then he vaguely lifted a strangely shaped object. Jeffy looked at the electrified area around him, silently reflecting on his recent fight with the support. Physical attacks were useless against the support. Jeffy slowly brought a flute to his lips, thinking to himself, "So I can only use magical attacks with lightning or fire attributes, or holy power. This is too easy for me." Just one more move and he would have been toast. But why waste the mana? Standing in the electrified area, Jeffy played his flute. The song Harmony of Destruction shattered the magical bonds within the support's cells. Suddenly a voice spoke from behind him. "So you know that song." A robe fluttered in the wind. How surprising, the voice continued. "That is a secret known only to the Demon King's disciples. The temple has never laid hands on it." Net leapt down from above. Before Jeffy could turn, the man fixed his gaze on him, smirked, and spoke. "You know far too much." Jeffy recognized him instantly, his expression tensing. Finally, Jeffy thought his mind flashing back to his past encounter with Net, the man who only took on missions that could not fail. "He's attacking me again. The one whose martial arts are just like his." The image of Net attacking him flashed through his mind. "If I trick Net and steal his letter of recommendation, I can join the expeditionary force. He wants to test me." Jeffy's flashback ended his thoughts hardening with resolve as he focused on his immediate goal. "It's time. I have to pass his test and make him believe I'm a disciple of the Demon King. It's the only way to change the future." He furrowed his brow, hinting at another deeper purpose. Jeffy began to recall images of himself training in the past, a debt I have yet to repay. He steeled his resolve. "I want you to have a different fate in this life." He clenched his fists resolutely, glaring at Net with hatred, a plan already forming in his mind. "That's why I have to deceive him to get close." Breaking the silence, Net spoke up, a smirk on his face. "No matter what happens, I've been watching you this whole time and I've come to a decision." Without the slightest hesitation, his hand reached back and drew his sword. "You..." He pulled out the blade, radiating a ferocious killing intent. "Are a target that must be eliminated." With incredible speed, he lunged toward Jeffy. Net aimed his sword at Jeffy, who raised his hands in a defensive stance, summoning crackling lightning around his palms. Wielding his sword with immense power, Net unleashed a flurry of strikes that completely enveloped Jeffy, yet none of them seemed to land. Net was slightly astonished, thinking to himself this feeling. "I'm missing every single strike." Suddenly, 3 stones crackling with Jeffy's lightning appeared behind Net. He reacted instantly, slicing through them as they flew toward him. His earlier smirk gone, Net spoke. "How interesting. I never thought you'd be able to not only dodge my attacks, but also counter them." He thought on this continent aside from Master. "There aren't many who can keep up with my speed and my strikes. He must have another objective." Jeffy, annoyed that his counterattack had failed, held a stone in his hand and spoke to Net with mocking tone. "Are you so weak you need a sword to fight someone who's unarmed?" As if the taunt hit a nerve, Net frowned in annoyance. He immediately dropped his sword to the ground and took a serious martial arts stance. Not to be outdone, Jeffy mirrored his posture perfectly. With intense focus in their eyes, both prepared to strike. Lightning sparked around Net. They exchanged blows, neither giving an inch. They used the same principles as the Dragon's Claw. The secret martial art of the Dragon King envelops the body in electricity, generated by explosions, granting the user enhanced speed and power. Jeffy held out his palm. Streams of lightning began to spark around him, but anyone who uses this style also knows how to block it. He stared straight into Net's eyes, fearless and unflinching. The secret martial art of the Dragon King, Yin-Yang Lightning Break. It has 2 poles, yin and yang. A negative pole and a positive pole will attract each other. The 2 lightning streams collided, creating a massive explosion. But this defensive style works on the same principle: 2 like poles will repel each other. Net was struggling, finding it incredibly difficult to fight and defeat Jeffy. He links his attacks to the positive pole and maintains that connection point to dodge all my strikes, Net thought furiously after a prolonged exchange. This should have been over already, but in that instant, after being attacked by consecutive strikes faster than the speed of light, there are 2 possibilities. Case 1, if the body is not enveloped in sufficient energy, the attack is not deflected and hits its target. Case 2, when the electric shield is stronger than or equal to the opposing current, the attack is deflected. However, if the electric shield is weaker than the opposing current, the shield is neutralized and the attack lands. The point of attack. The timing and the amount of energy one must train relentlessly to adjust all these variables reflexively in a split second to use this technique effectively in battle. This isn't something that can be imitated with cheap tricks like simple mimicry. Net was absolutely furious, unsure of what to do. That's the real deal. Jeffy's entire body began to glow, radiating the blue light of his lightning current. Net gritted his teeth thinking, and that makes this even more infuriating. Only my master and I were taught the secret martial arts of the Dragon King. Unable to contain himself any longer, Net yelled, "Who the hell are you?" Long ago, there was the 9th-level disciple of the Demon King, the Eastern Lord Jinryong, the Solitary Dragon. He was a man from the East who journeyed from the Eastern continent across the demon lands of the Saraha Desert to the continent of Aslan. An obedient army followed him. He was the one who revived the structure of the Demon King's cult with his mysterious techniques and martial arts. The Dragon King art had 2 true successors separate from the hundreds of other disciples. While the others only knew the surface of the art, these 2 inherited the core of the Dragon King art from the Eastern Lord. Of the 2 heirs, one was Jinryong's biological son, Jingong the Mad Dragon, in other words, his flesh and blood. The other was a child he adopted on the continent of Aslan. The 2 of them trained day and night, constantly sparring and competing against one another. Both were required to master the art through live combat. Therefore, only 2 were needed, as the core of the martial art had to be kept secret. The arid desert was hazy with dust and smoke. "First of all, you are definitely not one of those 2 core disciples." Net's frown deepened as he lowered his voice. "And that's not all. You destroyed the sect's priceless treasure. That thing was nurtured with the flesh and blood of 100 people created specifically for this expedition. I don't believe you're a disciple of the Demon King." Jeffy just stood there defiantly still. Hearing his accusatory words, Jeffy simply raised 2 fingers with a mocking smile. "It's so simple, yet you can't even figure it out. There are only 2 disciples who learn the secret arts, but—" He paused for a beat, then continued. "What happens if one of them dies?" He hadn't seen that coming. If one of them dies, the other can't practice combat on their own. The master is too busy to spend time training the survivor, and it takes a very long time to train a new disciple. The more he thought about it, the more unbelievable it seemed. His eyes went wide as saucers. "If that's true, then no, it can't be." Jeffy smirked. "I'm the secret disciple trained to be ready in case one of you 2 kicks the bucket. A shadow disciple. It's a long-standing tradition among Eastern martial artists. A shadow disciple is trained in secret as a contingency in case something happens to the official successor, a person whose existence even the sect's inner circle is forbidden to know. They are the hidden trump card that ensures the sect's survival in an emergency. But they are killed if the official successor matures safely and takes their place as the sect leader. This is done to eliminate any future threat, since the shadow disciple is trained identically to the official successors, and letting them live could cause complications." Jeffy raised an eyebrow, thinking to himself, "Spot on. It's not like I just made all that up." However, the real shadow disciple can't make it to the tower to join the raid, because that person will be all tied up by Antari and her companions. "Ante, I bet you're doing things quite unbecoming of a princess right about now, aren't you?" Jeffy's lips curled into a smirk. He had already planned to take advantage of this situation. After listening for a moment, Net couldn't help but frown. He challenged him. "If what you're saying is true, then shouldn't your existence have been kept an absolute secret? Why would the master send you here?" Net immediately continued. "I contacted the master to confirm, and he said he never sent a disciple like you here." Net watched Jeffy intently. "That's a lie. But if he's an imposter, he's bound to make up some pathetic excuse." Net's gaze was filled with suspicion. It was extremely difficult for the Demon King's disciples inside the temple to contact the outside world. It was normal to have to make your own judgment calls based on the situation. "I'll kill him the second his story shows a crack." Power was already gathering in Net's hand, crackling with lightning. "The orders I received were to conceal my identity from the other disciples of the Demon King and to join the raid on my own merits. I am to take over your mission. Yet should anything unfortunate happen to you," Jeffy said with a serious expression. Net couldn't hide his anger. He gritted his teeth and asked, "You know what my mission is?" Jeffy just smiled nonchalantly. "Of course I do. You're supposed to escape with the dragon's heart. It's a magic stone that forms inside the heart of a dragon, and it's considered the ultimate artifact. It's said to grant its wielder power on par with a dragon. Legend says that 1,000 years ago, the hideous Princess Eurydica was the first in history to find this item, and she took it with her to her grave. The Temple Knights would never be able to keep up with the lightning speed of a Demon King's disciple the moment you touch the dragon's heart.
No one would be able to stop your escape. Jeffy pointed at Net and continued, however, anything you can do, I can do just as well.
Hearing this, Net flinched. Jeffy smirked mockingly. The Master was anxious about leaving you to handle the mission alone. Net's eyes widened in speechless fury. The reason I disobeyed orders and lured you here with all that flashy stuff is because the requirements to join the raid are more complicated than I thought. Why take the hard road when the easy path is right in front of me? So that's that, but... Jeffy rubbed the back of his neck as if exasperated, but then his expression turned serious. Actually, I have something personal I need to discuss with you. Net looked extremely irritated. Something personal. With me. He took a step back, but Jeffy moved in a flash, getting close enough to whisper in his ear. It's about the blood tears. Net's eyes flew open in shock. How could he possibly know about that? The blood tears. My family's stolen treasure. The whole reason I'm following the Master is to get it back and take revenge on the temple. The only people who know about this are the Master and me. Uncertain Net had no choice but to ask, Tell me, what do you know about the blood tears? Jeffy crossed his arms, looking smug. I'll tell you, once I've judged you to be trustworthy. First, why don't you make my life a little easier? You can add me to the raid party, can't you? I'm sick and tired of the stinking quarters they assign to the lowest-ranked group of hunters. Net was silent. He squeezed his eyes shut. There's no way I can trust this guy. You, follow me. There's somewhere you need to go with me. With that, Net turned and walked away. The scene shifts to an abandoned mansion near the temple. Net walks in and calls out, Everyone, brothers, I've brought the last member. Net gestures towards Jeffy. His name is Jeffy. He was sent by the Master to assist me on my mission. I've already performed the necessary procedures to verify his identity. A dark figure sitting in the corner spoke up. Model, I had thought you were quite intriguing. I suppose this is the situation. It was Matthias Grimmer, the 36th ranked follower of the Demon King. He flashed a friendly smile and said, You should feel honored to be standing shoulder to shoulder with the successor to the Lord of the East. Hey, little bro. Jeffy immediately frowned in anger as Matthias Grimmer slammed his hand on the table over this. The slave class candidates participating in the raid will follow the heretic investigators and the hunter teams. It has been decided there will be 40 of us, the followers of the Demon King. Since there's a newcomer, I will explain the strategy one more time. You all must remember this. No mistakes will be tolerated. For the glory of the Demon King's cult, Matthias Grimmer said loudly. Jeffy still looked quite annoyed, thinking to himself, I thought it would be great if I could find the Demon King's followers hidden in the 5th Army by using Net, but for all 40 of them to be followers of the Demon King is so insane, I don't know whether to laugh or cry. These guys, they're different from Sahaku, who only relied on items and monsters, or the me from the past, who had nothing but ambition at the time. Jeffy thought of the bearded old man and that weird masked guy. They were all very strong. They are an elite force formed for a single purpose to carry out this mission. And on top of that, there's a guy with his face completely wrapped in bandages. If you all have so much power, Jeffy fell silent. Then why would you follow that Demon King? Net glanced over, observing Jeffy. The fact that he revealed his own identity proves that Master doesn't completely trust me. Net wondered to himself, he even knows about blood tears. Just how close are they to be able to share such secret information? The one Master trusts might not be me, but him. No, I can't waver. Net comforted himself. Master made a promise to me. Net recalled the past his Master's words to him. If you become important to me, I will help you get your revenge. Net clenched his fists, his resolve hardening. I need Master for my revenge. For that reason, I will be the one to seize that dragon heart. No matter what happens. It won't be that shadow guy, it will be me. And another thing. Net continued to watch Jeffy. If he's the shadow disciple, the one being groomed to replace me, then he might want something to happen to me. Because if I die, he'll automatically become the official successor. He might even put a knife to my throat. Matthias Grimmer's voice rang out after he finished explaining the strategy. I will divide you into teams. The escort team will follow Brother Net and protect his escape route. And the assault team will confront the leader of the knights, Lucius, Matthias Grimmer ordered. Net held out his hand to Jeffy and said, Since we've both been assigned the same mission, isn't it only natural for us to be on the same team? Yeah. Net smiled, thinking to himself, if he's planning to steal my prize and my life, it's better to keep him close to me.
instead of at a distance. I look forward to working with you.
Jeffy looked at Net's outstretched hand with suspicion. The Net from my previous life collapsed after trusting the wrong person. While he's blinded by his grudge, he's the loyal and patient type. Making an enemy of him would be pointless. On the contrary, I want him as an ally. If I can get him to direct that trust towards me, he'll be a powerful asset to help me overcome what's to come in the future. With that thought, Jeffy reached out and shook Net's hand. I look forward to working with you too. I've tragically lost countless relationships. Among them, the first person I need to reconnect with is him. The scene changes to a cave filled with gasping sounds. A staff is pressed against Jeffy's neck. Choose. Someone's voice rang out. It was Net giving Jeffy an ultimatum. Will you help me escape this place? By learning the ultimate martial arts technique, or... Do you want to die right now and become roasted pork? The first eccentric bond that made me humanity's strongest. Master passed the Dragon King to me. Net the next day. The sky was sunny and blue in harmony with a 7-colored rainbow. The names of the members for the subjugation squad for the Tomb of the Abominable Princess Dungeon had just been announced. Everyone stood watching pensively to hear the announcement, which read as follows. The individuals named below are to assemble at 6 a.m. tomorrow. You will all be living in the same lodging, while training in preparation for the subjugation's departure date. The announcement continued. For security reasons, communication and contact with anyone outside, the subjugation squad is strictly forbidden. Please pack your necessary belongings and report to us if you see anyone engaging in collusion. Final reward details, that is all. Now. Jeffy also stood in the crowd listening to the announcement. With a pensive expression, he thought, everything is going according to plan. I guess I should start getting my things in order too. Just then, many battle scenes appeared in his mind. The Black Steel Dungeon, the Nest of Caches, the village in the canyon where Net faked the notice, and the Goblin Cave. I've achieved the feat of conquering 3 dungeons just as I promised Gogi. Immediately, those 3 guys bowed solemnly and shouted in unison, Thank you, Jeffy! Thank you for everything, boss. Please take care. Afterward, Jeffy stood with his arms crossed, thoughtfully watching the 3 of them. And he said, Now you all have a record of achievements. Plus, with so many positions open because 40 slaves were assigned to the special subjugation, you all will get promoted quickly. Right after, Jeffy added, After you get promoted, the path will become more difficult, so do your best. A small blonde-haired guy seemed hesitant as he agreed with an, Hearing this, Jeffy looked very surprised and asked, what is it? The small blonde guy lowered his head regretfully and stammered, It's nothing. But in his heart, he was thinking, Please let me follow you. I want to learn from you, boss. He thought further, I can't say that to the boss. In the small blonde guy's mind, his feelings for Jeffy were sincere. Even though our time together was short, I could still see that this man has ideals. And that ideal, it's far grander than anything ordinary people like us could ever imagine. The short, blonde-haired kid seemed to be racked with guilt. He gritted his teeth, thinking that a weakling like him had no right to follow his boss. Just then, Jeffy gently instructed the short, blonde-haired kid, advising him, As long as you train with everything you've got, the day will come when you can stand shoulder to shoulder with me. Until then, come find me. This left the kid so surprised and moved that he was stunned, speechless, able to do nothing but stare at him. Jeffy immediately turned his back. I'm counting on all of you. Hearing this, all 3 of them bowed their heads and shouted in admiration. Thank you so much. Jeffy looked at the 3 of them and thought to himself, 2 people who should have been dead are now alive. The bright light in their eyes is proof that I did the right thing. Deep down, Jeffy's intuition told him what was to come. However, as things stand, these people are about to die soon anyway. In 3 years, if the followers of the Demon King succeed in their summoning, a great many people, including them, will lose their lives. To prevent that, I have to get the dragon's core. He walked into another room lit by the warm yellow glow of an oil lamp. Giuseppe thought about the next step. Leona approached Giuseppe and asked, So are you satisfied? In this room, everything was displayed with great care. Leona spoke to a pensive Jeffy who was observing the items. This is the gear I managed to find for you. A look of excitement appeared in Jeffy's eyes. This stuff is good, he thought. Looking at the weapons leaning against the wall, Jeffy mused, exactly what I asked for. He then glanced to the side. More excellent items, Jeffy thought. She's chosen blunt weapons with high mana conductivity. The tale goes that the tomb of the abhorrent princess is a dungeon teeming with animated skeletons. Being undead, they feel no pain. Their bodies are nothing but hard-bone rendering slashing attacks like the Great Sorrow flesh render, and the agonizing blood scatter completely useless. An image of a great hammer shattering a sturdy skeleton appeared in Jeffy's mind. That's why to defeat them you have to smash them to pieces with blunt weapons. Giuseppe put a hand to his chin, looking thoughtful. The quality of these weapons is excellent. I'll take them all. Hearing this, Leona asked with a look of surprise and gratitude, Really? Without hesitation, Giuseppe reached out and grabbed a sword from its wooden stand. Among all of these, he said. Jeffy then drew a long sword. After a few practice swings, he said casually, I especially like this one. That treasure was the Sunset Longsword, an artifact belonging to a knight from 100 years ago, discovered in the Sunset Castle. Within the blade flows a mysterious stream of energy. I found this one because our distinguished client specifically asked for it, Leona thought. But a longsword isn't very effective against skeletons. I have no idea what he's thinking. Jeffy then looked at his reflection in the sword's gleaming surface. He thought, what I really need to be concerned about in this dungeon isn't just the skeletons. Jeffy thought to himself, the Radiant Sanctuary is trying to wrap up its 15th attempt to conquer this dungeon. And the followers of the Demon King are ready to fight to the death for their cult's survival. I'll have to fight all of them to get the dragon's core. Jeffy's thoughts grew more somber. The entire subjugation team is my enemy. But there was more. Seeing the suspicion in Net's eyes, Giuseppe thought, Net still doesn't trust me. Just then Giuseppe gripped the sword and closed his eyes as if weighed down by his troubles. He thought, even if I tell him the truth, it won't be easy to convince him. If my persuasion fails and we end up fighting again, it won't end halfway like it did last time. His eyes revealed his conclusion, it would be a fight to the death. Suddenly, a knock at the door made Jeffy look up in surprise. It was an enchanter who entered with a gentle expression and spoke to the two of them. My apologies, am I late? She continued. My name is Angelia. I'm an enchanter who collaborates with the Research Institute. You must be the distinguished client Anna mentioned, correct? Watching her hand place a spell upon the sword within a sparkling circle of light, Jeffy thought, the process of imbuing equipment with holy power mana and other attributes is called enchanting. The more skilled the enchanter, the stronger and more durable the enchantment. Jeffy's thoughts continued. If I remember correctly, Angelia is one of the most renowned enchanters of the sanctuary. Jeffy then said, stammering slightly, Well then, I'll be in your care. Hearing this, Angelia chuckled. Don't you worry, handsome. Then her expression turned serious as she began to chant, O sacred holy mother, please grant us your light. Suddenly a brilliant golden light flashed, sparkling brightly. Now everything had been enchanted with a golden aura, the leather armor, the sunset longsword, the enchanted leather boots, the enchanted disaster amulet, the enchanted black steel scythe. Jeffy thought, even though I have to prepare for a confrontation with the subjugation team members and I can't let my guard down inside the dungeon. If I can't even withstand the foul aura of the abhorrent princess's tomb right from the start, then all these preparations will be for nothing. Jeffy's gaze was sharp and wary. And with that, the basic preparations are complete. Angelia then asked, So how will you be paying? Hearing this, Leona immediately handed her a pouch of gold. 5 pieces of equipment for a total of 3,000 gold. Here's the full payment. Angelia happily took the pouch of gold and left waving goodbye to the two of them. Leona happily bowed in return. Getting enchantments from Angelia on the side for only 3,000 gold is way too cheap, Jeffy thought. Yos must have pulled some strings for me. Looking at the equipment around the room, Giuseppe said, Now then, let's settle up the costs on our end, shall we? Hearing this, Leona asked in surprise, About what? She asked, and then, with a thoughtful expression, Giuseppe asked, Isn't it thanks to you that I'm barely paying any commission? And we're not just talking about 1 or 2 pieces of equipment here. Hearing this, Leona put a hand to her chin, thinking to herself that she'd taken a small loss to earn some points. She feigned nonchalance. Oh, it's nothing. We're all acquaintances here. Jeffy immediately glanced over at her. You must have had to prepare in a real hurry, thanks. Seeing this, Leona looked rather suspicious of Jeffy. Then she hesitated before replying, Ahem. As long as you understand my good intentions, that's all that matters. But Jeffy just asked, So what do I do now? Jeffy immediately looked worried. I don't have a single coin left. Hearing this, Leona's jaw dropped in surprise. What, my dear customer, what did you just say? Or what? Giuseppe thought to himself that the byproducts from the fish and cheese weren't worth much, and the village in the gorge wasn't exactly a dungeon. Then he added with a calm expression, I didn't find anything of value. I have nothing to give you. Hearing this, Leona stammered nervously,
How can that be? Not even a single coin.
In the end, Jeffy immediately held out his hand, which was holding a small key. Then he produced 2 vials, one blue and one purple. He said to Leona, Can I pay with these? The first vial, Belio's Deadly Poison number 68 from the Poison King's collection. The second vial, Dragon's Deadly Poison number 61. Hearing this, Leona's mind raced with frantic worry. A deadly poison from the Persephone Guild. Seeing that Leona seemed to want the 2 vials, Jeffy held them up high for her to reach for. She became giddy with excitement. Oh, that'll more than do. Give them to me. Jeffy then pulled the 2 vials further away. Leona reached for them, shouting, Come on, give them here! Stop messing around! Seeing that Jeffy was still teasing her. Leona lost her temper and yelled, Do you get a kick out of teasing people? She snapped. She continued to demand the 2 poison vials from Jeffy. Hand them over now. Jeffy finally gave the 2 vials to Leona and turned his head, saying, Be careful when you sell those. That guy named Mole is dangerous. Don't sell to him. Leona, however, was blissfully holding the 2 vials, caressing them. All right, she replied to Jeffy. As she watched Jeffy leave, Leona waved goodbye. Take care, my dear customer. Come see me after the subjugation. I'll pay you the difference. Make sure you come back, you hear? The next morning, at a temple filled with knights and other people gathering for something, a hooded figure stood in the crowd, thinking, It's pretty crowded. If you include the knights and the priestesses of the sanctuary, I wonder how many people there are. An old man glanced over and replied, Around 100, perhaps. Elsewhere, Jeffy stood with Net, thinking to himself, Only a few of them survived in my past life. It'll be the same this time. Someone's voice rang out. Standing before everyone, he announced, It seems everyone has arrived. It turned out to be the man with long blonde hair looking down at the crowd. His name was Lucius. Jeffy thought, The leader of the subjugation squad is the head knight of the sanctuary, Lucius. The princess's catacombs raid party consists of clerics from the Temple of Light, 18 knights, 10 slave medics from the Hunter Squad, and 20 heresy inquisitors. 12 inquisitors, 6 slave medics from the Heresy Inquisition Board, 20 people, Jeffy thought, a total of 86 people divided into 2 groups based on their roles: vanguard for close quarters combat, protection, hunting, tracking, reconnaissance, and so on, the support team for long-range attacks, healing, magical support, etc. The leadership consists of 4 people: head medic Arnold, support team leader Leona Vanguard, leader Matthias, and everyone around them chanted, Seleucius, Seleucius, O Holy Father, and that was none other than the Pontiff Lucius. The Holy Cross is a symbol that the gods bestow upon their favored ones. Those who possess it are called Holy Father or Holy Mother. While on earth, they inherit the supreme power of the gods. After death, they become angels to serve the divine. Lucius is a living saint who received the Holy Cross at the young age of 7. Giuseppe continued to think. People revere the Holy Father and Holy Mother as if they were angels. They believe that seeing these saints with their own eyes is a great honor. I never expected him to show his face to the ordinary members. Suddenly, a grinding sound cut through Giuseppe's thoughts. Giuseppe turned to see Net gritting her teeth, glaring at Lucius. Seeing her reaction, Jeffy couldn't help but wonder. Lucius spoke up. I hereby declare that this special unit will put an end to the 15 long years of fruitless attempts to explore the catacombs and find the solution to one of humanity's 8 great mysteries. The name of every person participating in this unit today will be recorded by the church, and the slaves will be granted their freedom. Lucius clenched his fist with determination. Let us overcome the arduous training together starting today, and walk with me on the path to glory. The people standing around cheered endlessly. O mighty Arya, save us with your eternal light. O mighty Arya, save us with your eternal light. At the Howling Peak, special training ground, Jeffy was climbing up the peak step by step. He thought to himself, glory, glory for whom, of course, if this large-scale raid succeeds, the participants will receive boundless honor. However, its true nature isn't about celebrating heroic deeds, but about material gain. Matthias gave an order to those around him. This is a fragment of a tombstone from the dungeon. All of you must get used to this dark energy. I have to keep this up 24/7, Jeffy thought. Get into politics, gain the right to form a raid party, gather the cult members, and summon funds for our endless expenses, such as costs for manpower items and potions. The final preparations were finally complete. And then a few years later, the dungeon was cleared. After the successful clearing of the dungeon, towns and roads would be built on the solidified land. Investors would reap enormous profits from real estate. This was a massive business undertaking. the third temple of light. It's nothing more than a tool for St. Lucius to use to clear the tomb. Those with potential for the special squad are nurtured, and the chosen are trained to become warriors. The elite. The magic staff in Leona's hand suddenly began to glow. Leona pointed and commanded, "Imagine this light is an enemy's magical attack. Anyone hit 3 times will die. Raise your swords and fight." "This is golem training," Leona shouted. "Let the mock battle begin." At Leona's command, the golem immediately swung its fists at the surrounding knights. Almost none of them could dodge the golem's punches. They fled one by one, wondering amongst themselves, "Why is this so intense? Damn, this is no different from a real fight, I'm toast." A wooden plank appeared out of nowhere, about to strike Jeffy, but Jeffy reacted instantly and smashed it with a powerful punch. Seeing this, Net turned to ask Jeffy, "I'm sure you know that here." "You can't use the martial arts of the Dragon King style, right?" Jeffy replied. "What, you think I'm an idiot?" Net and Jeffy both charged forward, swiftly dodging the golem's attacks. Jeffy and Net gathered all their strength, preparing to swing their swords. Their coordination was flawless. As a result, the golem was quickly defeated by them, 500 golems destroyed. After a 15-minute break, Arnold thought to himself, "They're better than I thought. The quality of slaves this time is much higher than the last batch, especially those two. They're skilled, and their teamwork is flawless. Who knows, maybe this raid will actually succeed," Arno thought as he looked towards Jeffy and Net. He then spoke up, "Oh, almighty Saint Arya!" This statement quickly drew everyone's attention. Arno walked towards them with a light smile. "I have completely healed the wounded, as long as our medics are here." "All of you can absolutely complete 4 weeks' worth of training in just 2 weeks. Now continue training." On the evening of the final training session, the commander gave the order, "The training exercise is concluded. I'm glad you all made it through unscathed. The brutal tomb raid awaits you all tomorrow. Eat and rest well. Understood." Only Net was sitting alone atop the tower. Suddenly a voice called out, "Aren't you going to eat?" "You've barely eaten anything during training. Today is the last day, so the food is especially good," Jeffy said. Nevertheless, Net still refused. "I've had enough." Net continued, "I have to maintain a certain weight to guarantee my speed." Jeffy mused, "In that case, I'll do the same. If you fail, I'll have to carry the mission after all." Jeffy spoke as he set his plate down. Net looked annoyed. You just love trying to one-up me, don't you?" Giuseppe sat down and said, "Don't make that face. I have something good for you. It'll make you move faster." With that, Giuseppe held up a bottle of liquor. Net watched in silence as Jeffy poured him a drink. After a moment, Net spoke up. "How much do you know about me? At first, I thought you wanted to kill me to steal my title. However, you never made a move throughout the entire training. It's left me very confused." As he spoke, Net recalled a past event between him and Jeffy. At that time, Jeffy had whispered to him about the blood tear. Net was stunned. "The blood tear? Our family's stolen treasure. The reason I followed my master was to get it back and take revenge on the temple. Only my master knows about this." Net then asked Jeffy, "Tell me, how do you know about the blood tear?" Jeffy replied, "I'll tell you once I see if you're trustworthy." Coming out of his recollection, Net said, "You know my secret. Your next move could be to threaten me or use what you know to your own advantage. Instead, you said you'd only tell me if I was trustworthy. It's so strange." Net asked, "What do you mean by that? What do you really want? He's changed. At first, he was just hell-bent on killing me. Maybe our 2 weeks of cooperation have paid off a little." "You're asking the wrong question," Jeffy replied. "What you should be asking is where the blood tear is and who has it. Now, I'll tell you, that sword is currently—" Jeffy whispered into Net's ear. Net was stunned by what he heard, thinking, "What?" A red-haired man led Net to where a large sword was chained and hung on a rack. Then the man began to speak to Net. "Net, this is the heirloom of our family, the tribe Barony. The demon sword blood tear. This is a gift our ancestors received after defeating the demons of the wastelands." Standing before the blood tear, Net was completely astonished, staring at it with his mouth agape. The red-haired man at his side continued, "Afterward, our ancestor presented this treasured sword to the king. The king bestowed upon our family the title of Baron and entrusted us with a great responsibility, to safeguard this treasured sword through the generations." Having finished speaking, he looked over at the young boy, his eyes full of expectation. "One day, you will be the Baron of the Style family. When that time comes, this noble duty will be yours." He patted the boy's head expectantly. "You must become a knight. To be worthy of the sword, do you understand? Net at this moment was overjoyed to hear his father's words, filled with the faith he had in him, and replied, "Yes, father." The two of them left, and Andean laughed smugly. "Ha ha, what I should have left for you was a piece of my investment." Suddenly, from outside the palace, shouts rang out urgently, "Andean, give the sword back." Inside it was Net's father shouting and causing a scene. He was furious, yelling, "I mortgaged all my land and my barren title, but it had nothing to do with the blood-tear sword, father. Andean, sir, please give it back to me, give it back." The scene inside was now utter chaos. All the soldiers were trying their best to hold back Net's father's rage, but Andean, faced with that fury, he showed no reaction at all, calmly standing aside and watching him. When he saw Net's father rampaging and screaming his name, Andean began to smirk, looking over at him. As he was causing a disturbance, Andean asked, "How dare you cause a scene in the temple, huh?" "Don't get the wrong idea, Leonard." Then, before Leonard's resentful eyes, he continued calmly, "Blood Tear was never yours. It belongs to Baron Tyler. You mortgaged that noble title, so you no longer have the right to keep it." Hearing this, Leonard could no longer hold back. His eyes, filled with killing intent, glared with rage. "You—" Then he drew the sword from his waist. Filled with ultimate resentment, he broke through the knight's blockade and swung the sword, aiming for the middle of Andean's head. Without hesitation, he screamed, "You bastard!" Because everything happened so fast, Andean could only stand frozen, unable to react, but just then, before the sword could strike Andean's head, Leonard's arm was sliced clean off by a knight standing nearby, while another stabbed him straight through the stomach. Andean, still with that calm and smug attitude, smiled as he watched Leonard being stabbed. Leonard coughed up blood. His son Net, witnessing everything from the side, screamed in horror, "Father!" He collapsed at the feet of Andean. The man gloated, "Be grateful your blade never touched me, a commoner like you in this temple of light." As he said this, he bent down, pushed Leonard's head to the ground at his feet, and laughed smugly. "Dared to harm me, a son of noble lineage. For that crime, we will execute your son as well." Just then, Andean's men began to leave. They left Leonard collapsed on the ground along with Net's horror. He screamed, "Father, father!" Recounting the whole story up to this point, Net spoke with resentment. 12 years ago, going bankrupt was a common occurrence at that time. Investment in dungeons had surged in just a few years. Pouring capital into raid parties and dungeon exploration rights had become a trend. The price of items skyrocketed. The economic benefits related to dungeons were countless. There were times when a series of investors made enormous profits, but those parties failed one after another. Gangs formed fake parties to scam investment money. After these unexpected incidents, the direction of dungeon investment dissolved, causing an economic crisis, the bursting of the dungeon bubble. As he told the story, he began to speak of the Temple of Light. The Temple of Light reaped a huge amount of money by selling altered items. They deceived countless investors into believing their money was still safe, even though the dungeon bubble was on the verge of collapse. They sold off as much junk as possible to minimize their losses and maximize their profits. As he said this, he angrily recounted what happened to his father. "My father was the same, an investor who borrowed money from the temple to buy those investment items. In the end, he went bankrupt and was thrown out onto the street. It was all because of the ambitions of the high-ranking priests and the masterminds behind the dungeon bubble burst. In the end, they were all acquitted, even though they were involved in the most serious economic fraud in history." The image of Andean and his father from that day appeared again, and he was filled with resentment. "Those people, especially that guy Andean Lasker, the one who lured my father in. He used the friendship between them for his own gain and even took his life. So now, I live only for revenge. I swear I will smash that damn Temple of Light to pieces." Thinking of the blood-tear sword, Net was filled with rage. "Even if I have to search the whole world, I must find blood-tear, the symbol of my family." But that was what I thought, until I heard the news about it. Saying this, Net grew even more disbelieving and angry. Why does Master have blood-tear?" After hearing the whole story, Jeffy replied, "Not long ago, Master told me about the identity of the leader of the Demon King Society, as well as the 12 disciples, the ones who run the cult." He then began to think angrily about the people in the cult. Andean's image appeared in his mind. He thought furiously, the cult leader and half of the disciple members are high-ranking priests in the Temple of Light. Hearing this, Net was completely stunned and cried out, "What?" Faced with Jeffy's words, Net began to think and speculate. If you become my right-hand man, I will help you get revenge. Master must have told him that, but it was just a lie. Net rethought everything. Another image flashed in his mind. He and Jeffy were walking with a group of knights. He thought angrily, "Master that goddamn dog, if the plan to give the cult leader the dragon's saliva succeeds." Thinking this far, Net couldn't hide his worried expression. Then we'll never be able to lay a finger on him. His plan for revenge would be ruined. Net thought angrily. We've been tricked from the very beginning. He was furious. Damn it. Master, the person I saw as family has been deceiving me all these years. This can't be real. Net couldn't believe what he was thinking, but he struggled with the internal conflict. But if it's not true, then how did he know what Master once told me? Net stopped in his tracks, lost in thought and confused. What should I do? At that moment, the group of knights, along with Net and Jeffy, arrived in front of a tomb. Standing before it, Net snapped out of his thoughts in surprise. This is the tomb of the tyrant princess. Another person standing next to him also looked at the tomb and began to think, compared to this level, of the dungeons I've cleared before are nothing. He then started to worry. This uneasy feeling. It's like it's radiating through my very core. A sturdy old man to the side also looked on with interest. This place is certainly worth a try. And so they stormed through the doors. This is one of humanity's 3 great mysteries. Seeing this, the knights outside started to get a little worried. They turned to look at each other. Just then, Acno, who was leading the knights into the dungeon, looked at them and smiled. I'm sure I've told you before, but this is the dungeon the Temple of Light has been exploring for a grueling 15 years. Hearing this, everyone started paying closer attention to the dungeon. Acno continued, Everyone? Do you see the purification tools everywhere? This means this floor was explored and purified a very long time ago. He continued to elaborate. This dungeon has 9 floors in total. 2nd floor, 3rd floor, 4th floor. They continued their descent into the dungeon. 5th floor, 6th floor, 7th floor, and he began to add, in our previous raid, we successfully cleared up to the 7th floor, although we defeated the gatekeeper monster on the 8th floor. As he spoke of the 8th floor, a terrifying image of knights battling hordes of monsters appeared. Acno continued his story. But because of the dark aura leaking from the bottom floor, an image of ferocious skeletal monsters appeared. The monsters have become like this, Acno explained. These monsters were ferocious, their bodies human skeletons, but their eyes held a green glow and green smoke poured from their mouths. Seeing this, everyone grew excited. Charging inside, everyone shouted with excitement. Everyone prepare for battle, Vanguard Formation 3 assemble! The man on the other side also raised his sword. Let's fight! He yelled enthusiastically. Meanwhile, at the Temple of Light, 2 people were standing and talking. We're grateful that you've come, Your Eminence, Lucius said, bowing humbly with a smile. All the warriors have gone to raid the dungeon, so we're facing quite a few difficulties. We don't know how we can possibly repay you for lending us your protection forces. Indian replied, Think nothing of it. It's only natural that we help each other. As Lucius had left the temple to explore the dungeon, the knights now present were those dispatched from the capital's archdiocese. Indian replied, Please feel at ease. Treat them as if they were your own men. He was Cardinal Indian Lasker, a worshipper of the Demon King. At that moment, a skull monster with glowing green eyes ferociously lunged forward, opening its menacing maw to attack. The ensuing melee was chaotic. The battle was split between 2 sides. On one were the skull monsters. On the other side were the knights. The fight was evenly matched, and neither side gave an inch. One of them grew impatient as he fought. Is there no end to them? How can there be so many? In contrast, the muscular old man on the other side was still charging forward with gusto, laughing gleefully. Ha ha ha! To me, this rabble is just a little post-meal exercise. Elsewhere, another man started to speculate. Rumor has it that the master of this tomb is the Necro-Princess Eureka, a great archmage, who appears only once in a millennium. I think she used her magic to lure a few thousand of her followers and imprisoned them here while they were still alive. They chatted as they fought, cutting down monsters. Well, there must have been hundreds of thousands of grave robbers over the past few thousand years, so there's obviously no shortage of skeletons. She's a complete lunatic, another person said, laughing loudly. Ha 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 ha, when I was young. And just then, they had now advanced deep inside the dungeon, having cleared out the horde of monsters. But suddenly, a tremor emanated from deep inside, emitting a green beam of light that drew everyone's attention. From the depths, a Monster 100 times their size emerged, with smaller monsters scurrying at its feet. This was the bone golem, a golem constructed from hundreds of bone fiends. Seeing the golem, everyone looked up in shock. It then violently seized a large pipe and viciously threw it at the knights. The throw was so powerful, it sent knights flying and created a huge shockwave. Taking advantage of the chaos, the bone fiends ferociously charged towards them. Below, the knights who remained standing braced with their shields against the aftershock. Suddenly, a voice cried out, "In the name of the almighty goddess Arya!" Just then, Leona appeared to provide support. She pointed her scepter forward and cast her spell, "I summon chains of light, restrain the enemy." Her spell generated golden chains that shot out and bound the golem, immobilizing it. The others cried out in amazement, "It's not moving, now it's our turn." The knights rushed towards the bound golem, attacking with all their might and yelling, "Quick, smash it!" But just then the golem, while still bound, suddenly began to struggle. The golden chains started to vibrate as its body began to move. Its restrained hand began to flex and clench, making the chains tremble violently. Suddenly, the golden chains shattered. The freed monster was furious. Below, everyone started to panic. "The chains of light have been broken. Watch out." Just then, another knight raised his sword, activating a skill that caused his blade to erupt in a brilliant light. He began the incantation for his skill. "O goddess who guides lost humanity, shine your light into the deepest darkness." He then swung his sword, slashing through the monster's body. The attack formed a cross of light that passed through the monster. The brilliant slash tore right through the golem and the other bone fiends. The knights watched in awe, exclaiming, "Whoa, that's Captain Matthias for you." But hearing the praise, he showed no pleasure, and was instead very stern. "Focus." Matthias looked at the dungeon floor, now piled high with the skeletons of the defeated bone fiends, and thought, if the bone golem was here, then the one controlling that huge thing can't be far. Elsewhere, another type of bone fiend appeared, radiating a powerful aura. This was a bone sorcerer, an intermediate-class monster capable of casting magic and commanding lower-class bone fiends. At that moment, it was standing in a corner, using its power to revive another golem from the defeated monster's remains. Nearby, Akno urgently looked over at Matthias while casting a spell. "That sorcerer will keep summoning golems if we don't eliminate it." Hearing that, Matthias got annoyed. What kind of weirdo doesn't know that? Stop being so perverted. He looked pensively towards the mages in the back who were casting a healing formation. He then thought, whatever the first thing I need to do is get to that witch, in order to attack her directly and break their formation. He watched the golem being slowly summoned and the knights desperately launching attacks at them. He thought, in other words, we have to fight them head-on and destroy those things. Matthias's eyes darted around, searching everywhere. He anxiously thought, but the important thing is, where is that thing? This battle will become a complete mess if I can't find it. Suddenly a voice said, "Found it." From behind, a blond man standing behind Matthias, who had been searching frantically, suddenly said, "Everyone get back." It was Lucius. He took a stance, preparing to unleash all his power in one strike. It created a massive flash of light, forcing Jeffy, Net, and Matthias to squint. Lucius's skill was unleashed, creating a pillar of light with immense power. It swept through the entire tomb, creating a massive shockwave that cracked the ground. After the attack, the skeletons began to disintegrate. The attack shattered a stone pillar. This was the ancient tombstone that supplied magical energy to the skeleton witch. After the attack, he began to smile with satisfaction. If we hadn't destroyed the ancient tombstone first, facing the witch would have been extremely difficult, but it's fine if we destroy both the magic stone and the witch at the same time. At that moment, everyone shouted in joy, "All right!" The witch and the golem. Marcos are dead. Let's take care of the remaining minions. Off to the side, Leona watched Lucius and thought to herself, in the last battle, it took us 30 minutes to destroy one ancient tombstone. The power of the radiant spear is truly immense. Nearby, Net also observed, thinking, so that's the power of the radiant spear. Jeffy was also surprised, thinking, so this is the power of a 2 million gold weapon, huh? Having ended the battle, Lucius stood proudly holding the immensely powerful radiant spear. Everyone cheered loudly. We've conquered the 8th floor. No more skeletons are appearing. We're good. Healers treat the injured first. We're making camp here tonight. You guys place the purification magic tools around the area. If you don't want to die in the middle of the night. On the side, Jeffy suddenly snuck off somewhere. He then went to a wall, feeling it all over, searching for something. He thought it must be around here. Suddenly, he found a secret passage. He was overjoyed. Ha, found it! Meanwhile, in the makeshift strategy room, everyone was in discussion. All right, listen up. This is the map of the 9th floor. Inside, Lucius, Leona, Arnold, and Matthias were sitting together discussing the battle plan. Lucius said, I expect it will take 6 days to get from the 9th floor entrance to the 9th floor boss room. From now on, we will advance while destroying the ancient tombstones in each area. Hearing this, Leona was surprised and asked, All of them, huh? There must be hundreds, if not thousands of them. If we only destroy the ones on the path to the boss room, it'll only take 2 days. Hearing her objection, Lucius became stern, his hand on his sword, as he said firmly, Have you forgotten, Leona, huh? We once tried to save time and effort. And hearing that she looked extremely dissatisfied, but Lucius continued in a grave voice, But this time we cannot allow the mistake from a year ago to happen again. Hearing that, the other 3 looked at him in complete surprise. He then placed a game piece on the map and said pensively, A year ago we also made it to the boss room. The piece he put down was then surrounded by other skeleton-like pieces. Lucius said, However, while we were fleeing from the Guardian's attack, in the boss room we were surrounded by countless numbers of skeletons. The casualties were immeasurable. Looking at the pieces on the table, Leona grew pensive. Lucius continued, This time we absolutely cannot let history repeat itself. We have to destroy all of them no matter how long it takes. Hearing this, Arnold thought to himself, Even if it isn't the entrance to the boss room, the number of party members will plummet. If we get surrounded by thousands of monsters, the more our numbers fall, the greater the burden will be on the survivors. Looking at Lucius, he thought, One of the most important missions of this expedition is to preserve as much of our leader Lucius's stamina and mana as possible and escort him to the boss room in peak condition. The thought made him even more grim. It's possible if it's him. In his current state, he can defeat that monster. A year ago. The image of the dungeon boss appeared utterly terrifying. Both Lucius and Arnold looked horrified at the sight. Arnold recalled just looking at that thing. All my strength seemed to vanish. The guardian of the boss room. It's completely different from the other skeletons. It wears a suit of iron armor and radiates an incredibly terrifying aura. Its terrifying purple eyes. Suddenly, everyone sensed something. They all fixed their gazes on the entrance. Matthias boldly walked over and pulled back the flap, annoyed. What's going on? Suddenly, his eyes widened in terror. Huh! From inside, Matthias looked out and saw a giant monster attacking everyone. He screamed in fear, It's a shop gold! Outside, people panicked and cried out, Help me, healer. Where's the healer? Matthias grew confused, thinking to himself, What the hell is this? I prepared 5 shop golds to execute the plan. Outside, all the knights were in a panic, screaming, Run for it! Hearing their screams only confused him more, his eyes widening. But it's not time yet. It's not time to use them yet. Which idiot? In that moment, all 4 of them looked toward the same spot. The reason all 4 captains were looking at the same place was because of an unseen thing called instinct or intuition. All-powerful beings possess the ability to sniff out danger stronger than anyone else. Outside, Jeffy had pressed a hidden switch. He was stunned when a lever suddenly appeared. What are you guys looking at? He pulled the lever down with his hand and suddenly outside, where the mages and knights were standing, the ground began to crack open. The crypt started to shift, causing Matthias to suddenly lose his footing. The shifting crypt formed square pillars of different heights, separating everyone. The shop gold was dragged down as well, a meeting of the Demon King's disciples before the day the expedition team members were to be announced. Inside the meeting, voices echoed out. Because a powerful barrier covers the boss room door, it can only be opened by defeating the monster guarding the gate. Inside, the summoned knights stood in neat, solemn rows listening to the announcement. Furthermore, the door will close behind us once we step inside. The only way to get out is to kill the boss. Matthias was now very seriously announcing the plan to everyone. That is everything the reconnaissance team has gathered up until now. From the various magic sigils on the gate, suddenly someone raised their hand with a question. Can't we just break through the walls? Hearing that, Matthias looked over at the speaker, extremely annoyed, and said, If we could do that, why would we have wasted 15 expeditions? The further down we go, the stronger the barrier gets, so breaking the walls is impossible. Then he started to look smug. Because our expedition captain Lucius is very rich, he has found a temporary countermeasure. He began to speak of a brilliant golden sword kept by the royal family. He borrowed a legendary artifact from the Pope, the legendary pillar of faith, the unbreakable holy column. The Pope's treasure is currently being rented by Lucius for 100,000 gold a year in installments with a 10,000 gold down payment. Matthias then continued to explain Lucius's plan. He intends to jam it between the doors. Even a door created by the great sage cannot destroy a holy artifact. Down below, everyone stood solemnly listening intently to the plan. Those in the vanguard must watch Sir Lucius as if he were the boss attacking you, and push him away from the gate. That's when Net will be sent up. Net will quickly snatch the dragon's heart and slip through the door. Suddenly, Matthias's expression turned sinister as he gave the order, "Awaken the Shop Gold." The biological weapon Shop Gold is a monster whose armor grows stronger by absorbing a person's magical energy. It consumes and corrodes the mind of anyone who touches it. He then thought of the other 3 captains. He began to think, because Lucius and the other captains have strong magic resistance, the Shop Gold's mental corrosion won't affect them, but the ordinary priests won't be able to resist. The corrosion from the 5 Shop Golds outside. Lucius was starting to panic as the knights, their minds corroded, began to attack one another. Matthias thought, we'll have 30 seconds while the captains are disoriented, because the priests will be frantically killing their allies, and more than 3 minutes as the other members have to purify or eliminate the interference from the Shop Golds. Then, standing in the midst of the battle, Matthias, looking incredibly smug, laughed and said, "We just need to light the spark. The leader will fight Lucius. We will calmly but quickly leave the dungeon. We just need to report back to the temple that our attempt to conquer the dungeon was a failure." He handed everyone purple vials he had prepared. "This is a special potion. High-ranking leaders only need to drink this, and the slave seal will temporarily disappear. The priest's compulsory orders will be nullified. Drink it right before you enter the boss room." Matthias walked over and handed Jeffy a red horn. "This is the Horn of Hypnos. It's an instrument that helps control the Shop Gold, and the user won't be attacked by them as long as, you possess it. It also prevents the Shop Gold from corroding the user's mind." Matthias handed it to him. "Everyone gets a Horn of Hypnos for their own protection, too. Don't mess around with it before the mission." Looking at the horn, Jeffy was completely surprised. Holding the horn in his hand, he was extremely pleased and smiled, thinking back on everything that had happened until now inside these walls. Jeffy stood inside, smiling smugly as he watched the chaotic battle outside. He thought to himself, how moving. Everyone fighting tragically outside was groaning, "I'm gonna die, man." Jeffy began to use the horn, thinking to himself, with the healers here, the massacre won't be too serious. Outside, someone suddenly recognized the sound of the Horn of Hypnos. They were startled, thinking this sound. Shop Golds crawled out from the other knights' pouches. The Shop Gold forces grew larger and larger, overwhelming everyone and causing them to scream in fear, "Shop Gold!" From behind that wall, Jeffy started to shout from his position, "Gather at one point, surround them so the healers can perform the purification." Jeffy began to run off in another direction while everyone else yelled, "Gather, gather!" At one point, as he ran, he laughed smugly, thinking, "All right, just keep this up." Jeffy rushed towards the wall, reaching out to touch the 7th secret switch. Suddenly, he froze for a beat. Jeffy turned to look behind him and realized he had caught everyone's attention. All eyes were on Jeffy. He stood at the 7th secret switch, looking back at everyone. At that moment, Matthias remembered that it was Net who had introduced Jeffy to him. "His name is Jeffy. He was sent to support my mission." As Matthias remembered this, he froze in anger, thinking, he's Net's support, so what the hell is he doing there? Then Jeffy started to press Secret 7. After pressing it, the wheel from before appeared again. Seeing them staring at him, he snapped irritably, "What are you looking at?" Jeffy pushed the wheel down with his hand, thinking to himself, this function was discovered 3 years after the surface expedition at the spot where the priests and knights are standing now. It began to crack and crumble. He watched and thought, it reactivates when this dungeon is used as a shield against the demon tribe. Lucius and Matthias had fallen into the trap he'd set. All the knights, priests, and captains were in a panic. Seeing them like this, Jeffy thought, a mechanism that randomly changes the dungeon's internal structure by shifting each room in this tomb. Jeffy looked down from above as they were engulfed by Secret 7, thinking with satisfaction, because my comrades and I conquered this place. I know its layout perfectly. Down below, looking up at Jeffy, Lucius froze. He started to remember what Matthias had said. He single-handedly wiped out a cockatrice nest. He's just trying to get attention to join the expedition in the next 20 days. Let's interrogate him. We'll check if he's a disciple of the Demon King. At that moment, Lucius looked up, grinding his teeth in fury, and thought to himself, he's tall with silver hair. That's the slave Matthias mentioned the other day. Is he really a disciple of the Demon King? But right now he was still confident he could handle everything, thinking it didn't matter. As long as he still has the slave seal, he can't possibly disobey my orders. And then Lucius held out his sword and began to activate the halt seal, but Jeffy was completely unaffected. He took off, not feeling the slightest effect. At this, Lucius began to panic, his brows furrowing. He's not stopping! Seeing this, Matthias flew into a rage. He ground his teeth, remembering the potion vial. This is a special potion provided by the leader. Just by drinking it, the slave seal will temporarily disappear, and the priest's compulsory orders will be nullified. Remembering this, he went berserk, thinking, it's the effect of the potion I gave him. Matthias was so furious he clenched his jaw, but there was nothing he could do. He began to lose his mind, taking a stance with his sword and activating a skill that made the blade turn golden, emitting a blinding light. He thought angrily, "You damn bastard!" Then he cried out, "Goddess, forgive my sin!" But at that moment, Net suddenly rushed forward and sliced clean off the arm Matthias was holding his sword with. Unexpectedly, the weapon Net used to strike Matthias was an Eastern weapon, the Urumi whip sword. It's flexible enough to be hidden in a belt and is an excellent weapon. It can wrap around a person and cut them to pieces. Because everything happened so suddenly, Matthias couldn't react in time and just glanced at Net. "Why would you—" Blood from— His arm began to spray everywhere. But Net remained cold and silent, saying nothing. He held the blood-stained sword, his gaze as sharp as a knife fixed on Matthias. Then he dashed away. From behind, Matthias screamed after him, "Ah, you son of a bitch!" As Net ran, he calculated, I've stopped Matthias, but there's still one more obstacle to deal with. Jeffy. And as for Lucius, he had unleashed his skill towards Jeffy. Just as the attack was about to hit his back, a wall suddenly appeared and blocked the entire skill. Then Jeffy made his escape. Lucius was completely stunned, unable to believe his eyes. Huh. As Jeffy ran, he laughed smugly. Too bad for you. Right now, I'm invincible. At that moment, his body emitted a brilliant aura. This was super luck, temporarily enveloped by a powerful aura of luck. Uses remaining 3. Used 1. Jeffy thought smugly, the high-level blessing from the god of fortune, super luck. He then remembered, furthermore, the gods gave me the revival privilege to support me. You can check the privileges you received after regressing. He said to himself, the moment I was reborn, the second I saw the list of privileges, a thought flashed through my mind like lightning. A defense mechanism that resets the dungeon by moving every detail. In other words, in an instant, a path that wasn't there before is formed, making the doors completely useless. If you're lucky enough to find that path, well, you'll reach the boss room. Jeffy, incredibly pleased, made his escape, thinking gleefully, right now luck is on my side. As Jeffy was running, Net caught up to him. Jeffy started to laugh. Oh, following me, are you? Net smiled and replied, of course. Then he grinned smugly. Anything you can do, I can do too. Giuseppe was extremely satisfied, thinking, it seems he's made his decision. Then Giuseppe recalled his conversation with Net from the other day. You're going to steal the dragon heart after everyone enters the boss room, just as the Demon King's disciple planned. But then you're going to run away with it, instead of delivering it to the secret meeting room. That's your plan, isn't it? Then he continued, if you do that, you're a dead man for sure. The only way to survive is for the two of us to kill the boss together. Hearing this, Net grew tense. What? Net began to lose his patience. He lost his composure and stood up angrily. I don't want to hear you bark anymore. Kill the boss with just the two of us. Is that what you're trying to say? Seeing Net so angry, Jeffy remained patient and sat down. Let me tell you about this brilliant plan. They discussed Jeffy's plan together until that afternoon. That's the whole plan. Any thoughts? After hearing the plan, Net began to hesitate. He was swayed by Jeffy's plan, thinking the plan is completely unconventional. Its chances of success are very high. The problem is, at that moment you suddenly realized there was a problem. With renewed conviction, Net turned to Jeffy. What do you mean I'll die if I run away with the dragon heart? Net began to argue back defiantly. Do you have any idea how fast the Dragon King arts are? Who could possibly catch me when I'm moving at that speed? Besides, what if I become the master of the dragon heart? Seeing that Net was still being defiant, Jeffy held up a hand. 2 things. First, the dragon heart has a unique way of accepting a master. If you're not careful, you could die from being unable to control the dragon's magic. As he said this, Jeffy's expression gradually grew serious. I can't do it myself, but I know the person who understands how to make the dragon heart accept a master. Second, hearing this, Net became furious, flinching as if Jeffy had struck a nerve. Jeffy continued, The person who transported the items to the 3 temples of Paris was Cardinal Indian Lasker. Hearing that name, he couldn't help but reveal a furious expression as he recalled his father being murdered 12 years ago. Andean's night order will hunt you down. That order is one of the strongest in these 6 lands, and it won't just be them. The Demon King's church will also hunt you down when they hear you've fled. As he said this, an image of their master appeared in Jeffy's mind, his expression filled with gravity. The entire church, including Master Jeevy, head of the Dragon King Order, seemed to have gotten into Net's head. He asked him, "Are you sure?" "I'm sure I can get away." Faced with Giuseppe's solid logic, Net was startled, his anger flaring up. Back in the present, Gate 7 was closing. Both Net and Giuseppe were escaping at incredible speed. As he was making his getaway, Net thought back to the day he went to see Matthias. "Huh. You want to deliver the Dragon Heart to the Grand Master?" Upon hearing Net's request to transport the Dragon Heart, Matthias immediately refused, his tone firm. "Why do you suddenly want to do this? As the one in charge after entering the dungeon, I can't let things go off plan." But after hearing Net's arguments, he began to let his guard down. "You think the Temple of Light will get suspicious because the courier is too high profile?" "Oh, please." But Matthias just smiled and refused. It seemed he already knew the courier was Lord Andean. "But I hadn't heard about how it was going to be transported yet. We've prepared a special safe method. You don't need to worry about it. Just focus on your own job." After being shut down like that, Net just stood there in silence. Matthias clapped him on the shoulder, smiled, and walked away. But Matthias did leave him with a few parting words. "Your handler told you quite a lot, didn't they? Our organization is a secret, so the identities of our members, especially the Vice Masters, are kept hidden. The Grand Master must trust you a great deal." Remembering those words, Net fell silent, realizing everything Jeevy said was true. He thought of that fiend Andean and of his own master. His enemy. Andean Lasker is a disciple of the Demon King Order, and he's close enough to my master to be entrusted with such a critical mission. Images of his father being murdered by Andean flashed through his mind again. Everything inside Net's head shattered, and the image he held of his master began to crumble, completely shattered. Net thought furiously, "Wasn't destroying my life enough for you? To think I've been deceived for this long?" After running for a while, Net and Jeevy found themselves in front of a golem. It was waiting for them, its green eyes glowing ominously. Net acted decisively. With a cold flick of his wrist, he activated a technique. In a single move, he completely annihilated the golem, leaving not even a single shard behind. He roared in fury, "Unforgivable!" Just then, Jeevy was still sprinting ahead. Net, however, was pouring all of his rage into his attacks, unleashing his full power. As he thought furiously, "You damn Demon King disciples! And the Temple of Light, I'll destroy every last one of you." Seeing Net get distracted, Jeevy yelled back, "What are you doing? Focus on running. Listen to me. Hesitating for even a second will ruin the whole plan." The rage in Net's heart hadn't subsided, but he gritted his teeth and endured. "I know." As they ran, Jeevy thought to himself, "I understand how you feel. But you can't let your emotions get the best of you." 5 seconds until Superluck runs out. They shot forward like lightning. As he ran, Jeevy was counting down. 3, 2. They were getting closer and closer to the boss room. A green light 6 was flashing before their eyes. Jeevy counted 11 as the light got even closer. Like a thunderbolt, the two of them flashed behind the boss in an instant. 4, Jeevy counted. 9. Just then, the boss noticed their presence. It turned its head, its gaze filled with killing intent. The two of them drew nearer. Jeevy counted nervously. 8. He and Net were focused, rushing forward with all their might. The boss went into a rage. It began to draw its sword, its aura brimming with bloodlust. "My heart!" Then, without hesitating, it raised the blade and took a stance to attack them. Seizing the moment, Jeevy screamed, "Jump!" Just as the massive monster brought its sword crashing down, the two of them dove to the sides, narrowly dodging the boss's attack. Just then, a green light shone on their faces. Tensely, they thought, "This is it." That light was the entrance to the boss room. The two of them threw themselves toward it. Behind them, the gatekeeper monster's arm crackled with furious energy, ready to strike them down. The gate was closing fast. Jeevy anxiously counted 3, 2. Even though the opening was now tiny, they both risked it all and leaped through without a second thought. Jeevy counted 1. After he hit 0, they had luckily seized the moment and made it into the boss room just as the gate slammed shut. Both of them collapsed to the floor, panting for breath. After a moment, they got up. Jeevy smiled satisfied, while Net, still breathing hard, said, I don't know whether to be amazed or pissed off. Staring at the glowing stone pillar before them, they couldn't believe their eyes. They said to each other, "We actually made it into the boss room." But as Net looked around the empty chamber, he grew confused. "But there's nothing here. Where's the boss?" Suddenly, a chilling voice echoed out, making both of them jump in surprise. Their eyes shot wide. "Who goes there?" And then from within the glowing stone pillar, a shaft of light began to appear in its center. The voice echoed, "I can still sense the night's energy outside the gate. How did you two get in here?" The boss appeared looking ethereal and mysterious in a black dress with platinum white hair. She spoke, her voice cool. "Who dares disturb the slumber of royalty? Meanwhile, outside, the others had managed to fight off the Shoggoths. "The walls are holding. We've wiped out all the Shoggoths," Leona began to shout. "Everyone gather here now. Get a head count." "Of the survivors," everyone replied Roger. But everyone was confused. Arnold asked Lucius, "Captain, what do we do now?" He fell silent, deep in thought. He thought back to what had just happened. The nullification sigil right before his eyes. The slave sigil. A seal placed upon slaves by the priests of light using their divine authority. The priests of light can forcibly command anyone with this mark. If I use it, the forced command has a range of 1 kilometer. Lucius began to think. He never had a slave mark to begin with, or maybe he has a tool to nullify its effects. He pondered everything. Furthermore, as soon as the soft gold appeared, he activated several tomb traps, moving them all just to show me. At least 2 of them. At this thought, his face darkened. To think there are a few of the Demon King's disciples hiding in the expedition team. Lucius began to grind his teeth in anger, even though he had selected only the most trustworthy people and their slaves. He then turned to Acno, furious, and asked, "Acno." Acno replied, "Sir." He then asked, "What are the names of the 2 who fled?" Acno began to explain, "The one with silver hair is Jeffy, and the red-haired one is Net. Jeffy joined the expedition on Net's recommendation." Hearing this, Lucius's face contorted in anger. Arnold continued, "And Net is the slave of Lord Matthias." He thought angrily, "Matthias?" He looked at Matthias's back. At that moment, Matthias was angrily thinking, did those idiots run away because they were afraid to face the boss? After creating this mess, he gripped the sword in his hand, seething. This was my chance for a promotion within the Demon King's sect and success in the Temple of Light. My perfect plan was ruined by those fools. Completely ruined. At that moment, Matthias quietly announced to everyone, "Brothers, stop the plan, everyone get ready." They asked back, "What for?" He shot a cold glare back at them. "To kill or be killed." Hearing this, they all put on serious expressions. Footsteps approached from behind them. At that moment, Acno, Leona, Lucius, and the knights began to direct their killing intent towards Matthias. He, aware of everything, also looked back. Lucius's face darkened. "Matthias, do you have any last words?" At that moment, Matthias also dropped his facade, drew his sword, and replied, "Who knows, and why would I tell you?" At that very moment, Net and Jeffy stood stunned, looking in bewildered surprise at a female master with white hair that flowed down to the ground. Net immediately recognized who it was, his face filled with shock. His jaw dropped as he thought, "The master of the tomb, Princess Eurydice." Then Net's eyes filled with confusion and worry as he thought with apprehension, "I can't believe it. The princess who massacred countless subjects 1,000 years ago." He continued to stare at Princess Eurydice, who looked so haughty. Net continued to think in a daze. But she's so noble and beautiful. Net was lost in thought again, wondering, could history be wrong, a person like this? How could she commit such brutal acts? He continued to think. I can't believe I disturbed the tomb of such a pitiful princess, all for a dragonstone that might not even be here. Then he looked at Princess Eurydice's bright, ruby-like eyes, which were filled with sadness. Net also pondered those sorrowful eyes. Immediately, with a calm expression, Net looked over, lost in thought. And he thought, if only I could ease that sorrow. He continued to think, I'd be willing to do anything. Suddenly, there were footsteps approaching from behind. Jeffy immediately grabbed the back of Net's collar, stopping Net from walking towards the magic circle laid out before them. This made him pause for a few seconds, not understanding why, so he couldn't say anything yet. Jeffy, with angry eyes, frowned and yelled, "You idiot!" Jeffy thought, I cannot believe he fell for such a basic hypnosis spell. That's not like him at all. He thought further, perhaps because he was deceived by that master for so many years, his mind isn't stable. After being pulled back by Jeffy, Net finally realized it. Surprised, he broke out in a cold sweat and exclaimed in confusion, "A magic circle!" He looked at the treacherous, rotating magic circle in front of him. Net calmed himself down a bit and said, "A trap if I had stepped on that." Suddenly, a loud, gloating laugh came from someone. Looking quite worried, Net saw that the laughter was coming from Princess Eurydice, who had her back turned. She laughed loudly. "What a shame!" Suddenly, the princess, Eurydice, turned around, revealing a face full of malice, her eyes a demonic blood red. She laughed and said with a savage look, "I almost devoured you." Then, as if the time was right, Jeffy looked on thoughtfully and thought, "It's time." Immediately, Princess Eurydice, with ferocious eyes and enormous teeth, bared her fangs and lunged towards where Jeffy and Net were standing. Instantly, Princess Eurydice opened her mouth wide, revealing 2 rows of sharp teeth, as if wanting to swallow them whole. She screamed in anger, "Die!" At that moment, Princess Eurydice rushed forward, extending hundreds of long red and blue arms that surrounded Net and Jeffy, looking like a massive illusion. At that moment, Jeffy even joked to Net, "There's your girlfriend." This made Net angry, and he yelled, "Shut up! I was under a spell, you know!" Then Princess Eurydice lunged at the 2 of them. There was a loud crash, sending Net and Jeffy flying. Before they could react, Jeffy stared intently at Princess Eurydice's hundreds of arms and thought, "The black hands! Legend has it that the red hands absorb strength, and the blue hands absorb magic. Archmage Eurydice can create hundreds of such arms at once. I learned that from reading the Dungeon Conquest reports. In the past, many members of the Special Forces fell prey to this skill and became nourishment for Eurydice. It's also said that Lucius himself had his strength and magic completely drained by her back then. But he was still determined to destroy her in that state of being full of substance yet lacking life. Now Jeffy's suspicious gaze passed over the hundreds of arms of Princess Eurydice, and in his heart, he could feel that look on him, a look that prayed for his defeat. Someone's words were uttered. He had always been waiting for that moment. Right now, under a radiant halo, the god of death sits imposingly on his throne looking down. He has granted a special boon, a skill that is the Steel Wall, sponsored by the god of debt Asura. Its effect is as follows: all fatigue and damage taken by the user while using the skill will be accumulated as debt. That debt will come crashing back upon the user the moment their magic points drop to 0. Instantly, the god of debt flashed a savage smile, looking pleased. Now, at the silent city gate, a group of people suddenly appeared. A platoon of guards consisting of medics and warrior priests holding various weapons advanced into the gateway. At this moment, Lucius, with an infuriated expression, snarled, "Matthias, how dare you destroy the efforts we've built up for the past 15 years, huh?" He continued to ask, "Since when did you join their side?" Hearing this question, Matthias Grimmer, with a deeply pensive look, said nothing. He clenched his jaw, thinking to himself, "Lucius is no fool. Shopgood and those slaves can nullify the seal." He pondered further. He couldn't have failed to notice when the truth was laid out right in front of him like this. Is he interrogating me now? Unsure of anything, Matthias thought further. The slaves couldn't have escaped on their own. I don't even know how the dungeon's structure has changed. He sank back into his thoughts. Even if I manage to escape, if this important campaign fails, and I return empty-handed, the leaders of the Demon King's Council will kill me instantly. With his resolve now hardened, Matthias Grimmer gripped his sharp sword and strode forward with purpose. But in his heart, he thought with absolute certainty, I have to kill him. To survive, I have to kill Lucius right here. At that moment, Matthias Grimmer, holding a longsword, walked forward proudly. He looked nonchalantly at Lucius, who was staring intently at him, and let out a triumphant laugh. "Since when, you ask?" Then, without any fear, Matthias Grimmer pensively asked Lucius, "Do you really want to know?" In his heart, Matthias thought, this is such bad luck. Looking at Lucius's group of grim-faced soldiers, Matthias Grimmer figured they were clerics equipped entirely with legendary items. Along with medics and cleric warriors, he thought with concern. I can't use a boss or support to kill them now. Then Matthias looked at them with a provocative expression, thinking, I only have one option with them. This side is the enemy. He saw his own people hiding on the other side. Matthias acted rather nonchalantly, thinking, but they have no idea my side is hiding over there too. Matthias's eyes were filled with calculations. He thought, if I can just create an escape route, I'll have a chance. Suddenly, Matthias held up 4 fingers behind his back to give a signal. A hooded figure saw it and looked surprised, but he said nothing. Matthias then slowly lowered his fingers to signal his comrades. The hooded figure thought to himself, take the potion when the count reaches 1. Got it. Plan C. He immediately took out a vial of what appeared to be a strange potion. It was a special potion provided by the Demon King's council that could nullify the effects of the slave seal. Matthias Grimmer, his eyes filled with excitement, said, "Let us duel like noblemen." He added, "Defeat me and I will tell you everything." In his mind, Matthias was counting down. Hearing this, Lucius's eyes showed suspicion as he watched as if he sensed something. Then Matthias held up 2 fingers. In his head, he thought, 2. Immediately, Matthias taunted arrogantly, "If you win—" He continued by holding up 1 finger. Instantly, Lucius shouted a command, "All of you!" At that moment, Lucius's loud shout rang out to the soldiers, "Attack Matthias!" The slave seal was mentioned again, the mark that the temple clerics carve onto slaves. To control them with this seal, a cleric has the right to compel any slave. Instantly, Matthias, with a furious expression, gritted his teeth and suddenly felt a sinking feeling. Damn it! I was 1 step too slow. At that moment, the vial of strange potion had already crashed to the ground at the soldiers' feet. They panicked and cried out, "Sir Matthias, we—" The soldiers were terrified. "We don't want to do this." Hearing that, Matthias glared at the soldiers as if he could eat them alive. He growled in anger and shouted, You useless bunch!" Just then, Lucius, with the look of utter confidence, stated calmly, "A command from the Holy Ones is on par with the will of the Pope. When the slaves obey my command, they will not carry out the orders of any other cleric," he continued. "In other words, the only way to stop them is to kill them." Lucius immediately closed his eyes and said, "What a shame, Matthias." In Lucius's mind, he recalled his childhood. "You have always been my friend, ever since I entered the academy at 52 years old." Lucius remembered his voice, choked with emotion. "We have fought side by side through countless battles, and now I am 32 years old. We were so close we could understand each other with just a glance." Lucius's eyes filled with suspicion as he continued, "To think you would betray me in front of so many eyes." They were staring daggers at each other, oblivious to everyone else. Then Lucius continued, "First disarm all the traps you people have set." A moment later, the bodies of the slaves lay scattered on the ground. Some were dismembered, others bathed in crimson blood. But there was something special about every single one of them. From their mouths or from any open wound on their bodies, a grotesque creature crawled out, the insects that the Demon King's cultists raise in their bellies. The sigil beetle, Lucius thought dispassionately. The powerful combat abilities of those insectoid slaves, the Demon King cultists, are all thanks to the strengthening effect of the sigil beetle. Moreover, the Demon King's seal isn't carved onto the cultist, but onto the shell of the main beetle. That's why, even though the law states one can only bear the seal of a single lord, whether slave or cleric, they could simultaneously hold 2 identities, a cleric or slave of the temple, and a follower of the Demon King. Lucius stomped down hard. He instantly crushed a sigil beetle that had crawled near his feet. He let out a sharp hiss. "Kick!" grinding his teeth and narrowing his eyes in displeasure. "I'm truly disappointed, Matthias. Because I trusted you, I entrusted the entire selection of slaves to you." He glanced at Matthias, who was bound tightly by shining golden chains and pinned to the wall with swords. Akno, standing beside him, scanned the surrounding corpses and thought to himself, to think they were all Demon King cultists. Sir Matthias truly commanded a formidable force. But he paused, looking at Lucius facing Matthias. The commander is still much stronger, he thought to himself. Matthias was struggling for every breath. The recent battle had worn him down. He looked at Lucius, but inwardly he cursed, "Damn it! I knew this wasn't going to be easy, but this is far harder than I imagined. My sword couldn't even touch him once." Matthias replayed the earlier clash in his mind. Is the power gap between us really this hopeless? He gritted his teeth, wondering, so this is the difference between a saint and an ordinary person. Is this the fate God has ordained? He recalled the image of the goddess of light and wondered again. Suddenly, Matthias hung his head and coughed up a large mouthful of blood. How ridiculous, he told himself, then choked up as tears welled in his eyes. Immediately after, a revelation stone appeared, which he managed to catch and hold in his mouth, thinking, if this is my destiny, in that case he thought, eyeing Lucius warily. At that moment, Lucius, who was facing him, put on a serious expression and asked softly, "At the very least, I will hear your reason, Matthias. Why did you betray me?" Hearing this, he laughed sarcastically and calmly replied, "Are you really asking? If you're that curious, go ask your goddess in the afterlife. Matthias's expression turned ferocious as he shouted, sticking out his tongue to reveal the bright red gem in his mouth. Instantly, Lucius's calm expression changed. Even Acno shouted in surprise, "That thing." But before they could react, he immediately crushed the gem and let out a heaven-shattering scream of pain. A faint image of Odin appeared. Back then, the old man had given him this red gem. His face held a sinister smirk. "This is the secret trump card of the Demon King's cult. It will help you resonate with the sigil beetle inside your body and transform you from human to demon. This is a revelation stone." The old man then calmly instructed him, "Only use this when you're cornered, because once you use it, you can never return to being human again." Despite those words, the current Matthias was already transforming, becoming more grotesque, more terrifying, more repulsive. He glared at the commander standing before him. His eyes turned red with resentment as he thought, "Everything you have should have been mine, Lucius." As he gradually completed his transformation, resolute thoughts formed in his mind. "If my fate is to be manipulated by the hand of God and the limits of humanity prevent me from fighting back, then I have no regrets about leaving my human life behind." Opposite him, Lucius shouted in alarm, "Attack now!" He just turned into a demon. His power isn't stable yet. Arnold reacted quickly, raising his brilliantly glowing cross high. "Oh, omnipotent Arya, grant us your power." He used Field of Radiant Light, greatly boosting his allies' abilities, such as their light attribute attack power. Magical defense and recovery ability increased by 120% applied to the Iron Legion over there. Next, they formed waves of light and rushed toward Matthias, but he just reached out contemptuously. "Useless," he said easily, blocking the attack. Suddenly his gaze turned to one of surprise because after that attack, Lucius himself charged forward to face him. Then a thick cloud of dust and smoke billowed out along with the remnants of Lucius's judgment skill. The soldiers saw this, and were immediately in awe. The commander as expected. But before they could celebrate, they stopped short and stammered because Matthias was now casually holding his opponent's spear. He stood there completely unharmed behind the thick smoke. This action truly stunned everyone present. They froze. They all wondered. The commander's attack had no effect. Leona, who was watching from the side, immediately grew concerned. She thought to herself, "We have to support him. But how are we supposed to do that? Even legendary equipment has no effect, so lower-tier items will surely be useless." Suddenly she had a thought. "That's right. We have that. Our legendary item, the Cross of Faith." Thinking this, she remembered when Lucius had given her a Cross of Faith, which was currently stored in a miniature space pouch. He had said softly, "I entrust this to you." It wasn't just to jam the boss room door, but also for her to use in case of an emergency. Leona reached behind her back, ready to move forward as she thought, "That's right. If I use this to connect with the commander, we'll have a chance to win." But then she gasped inwardly, breaking out in a cold sweat, because when she reached back, there was nothing there. Leona wondered in terror, where's the Cross of Faith? Elsewhere, it was sitting securely in Net's hand. He looked at the object warily, thinking, so he even planned on using this. It sounds a bit crude, but damn, this really is a fucking brilliant plan. Suddenly, an attack came crashing down toward him and Jeffy. With a single motion, he parried the blow, silently counting down in his head. 3, 2, 1. Finally, both of them came to a stop before the boss. Net glanced at Jeffy, thinking, spot on. Everything is happening exactly as Jeffy said. We just have to dodge for 15 seconds and this skill will disappear. And that thing can't use area of effect attacks back-to-back. That's because these skills require the user to mentally compute complex magical formulas. If you use too many major skills in a row, the brain will melt from the overload. The user is forced to weave smaller skills in between the larger ones to let their brain cool down. Good equipment can only help reduce the strain on the brain. It can't change this fundamental rule. Now is the time to attack Net thought decisively. Suddenly, the corner of the boss's mouth curled up, and then waves of thorny vines came crashing down on them. Net calculated his next move: 1 step back, 3 steps sideways, then climb. As he thought it, he and Jeffy both managed to get on top of the thorny vines. The two of them surged upward like a pair of lightning bolts. A battle, Jeffy told himself, is an endless series of unpredictable situations. Even knowing the future, I can't predict everything, he thought, as the tangled mess descended on him from above. Jeffy drew the sunset longsword. A magic sword that can deal powerful attacks carrying either the light or dark attribute depending on its enchantment. This is a weapon with the light attribute, or dark, the most effective that a non-cleric can use. Jeffy landed on the ground at the same time, unleashing a brilliant golden slash of light. And he told himself, that's why the most important thing is how much you've built up over time. He looked at the boss. Do I have enough equipment? Do I have comrades I can trust? The questions kept coming. Do I have the unwavering will to face adversity? Best to overcome any sudden disadvantageous situation that might arise? Jeffy thought. Then he and Net raised their swords in unison and let out a yell before he asked himself, have I trained enough to become the kind of person who can overcome this moment? This battle, Jeffy unleashed the Dragon King's secret art ascending cloud dragon. At the same time, Net also landed a finishing blow and sliced clean through the boss's head. He then landed safely, but of course the severed part began to convulse, and right from that spot, it grew a new head. It's not over yet. The thought instantly flashed through both their minds. It's changing its form, they thought, watching the grotesque transformation before them. But then the corner of Jeffy's mouth curled into a slight smile. He dropped into a stance, facing it. I've been waiting for this moment. With that thought, he shouted to the person beside him, Net! His partner quickly yelled back, I know, and immediately took off. Net leaped up, and in the blink of an eye was facing the regenerating Eurydica. He recalled what Jeffy had told him before, that even if they used the Dragon King's secret art, it would be impossible to destroy that monster. Once its head is destroyed, it will shift to its second form and become even stronger. However, for a single moment while it's transforming, it will be completely immobile and unable to use any skills. Jeffy had emphasized, that single moment is what we're aiming for. Thinking of this, Net reached out and twisted the spatial pouch in his hand, and it opened smoothly. Instantly, the cross of faith materialized and plunged straight into the boss, causing it to let out a horrific shriek, Kiak! The legendary item was reacting to the foul energy by unleashing the powerful holy energy stored within the Pillar of Faith. Meanwhile, Eurydica continued to shriek as it contended with the brilliant light, but it reached out, trying to remove the object from its body. Not letting it get its way, Jeffy jumped in and cleanly sliced off its defiant hand. He flashed an arrogant smile, thinking, the Pillar of Faith will nullify most of the damage at that point. We just need to kill the boss while it's trying to remove the pillar. Even as a legendary item, there's a limit to the holy energy it contains. Once it's depleted, it'll be nothing more than an oversized lump of iron. That's why the one who spent a fortune to rent it, Lucius, never intended to use it for an attack in the first place. He thought, then clicked his tongue. Not my money, anyway, he muttered, swinging his sword to sever another of the grotesquely faced Eurydica's limbs. The radiant Pillar of Faith began to lose its luster, which immediately caught Jeffy's attention. The aura on the Pillar of Faith is fading, he thought, which means it has lost its ability to identify enemies. He and Net simultaneously looked at the weakened boss beneath the pillar, panting. Tisk, it's really holding on, he thought. It's not even giving us a second to breathe. Jeffy drops his shoddy sword. Well, all the weapons I prepared have already run out of holy power. Tisk, what did I expect from this cheap junk anyway? I wonder how Lucius and his group are doing now? If Matthias has already been demonized, then, he thought as he tipped back a mana potion, the kind that would help him recover his spent magic. He's got the goddess of light on his side, so he won't die that easily. He quietly reassured himself, dropping 3 empty mana potions as another thought crossed his mind. Otherwise, everything is lost. At that moment, the monster's eye was still twitching in spasms, causing Net, who was watching from a distance, to become wary. Just then, Jeffy turned to him and said, Forget it. In its current state, it can't recover. But if it dies completely, the door will open and the Guardian will rush in. First, let's find the dragon heart, he said calmly, then tossed something over to Net. Across from him, Net gently caught the item, a recovery potion. Then Jeffy said, Use it. No one knows what kind of trouble we'll run into while looking for the dragon heart. And with that, Jeffy turned and left, first leaving Net with his thoughts in a jumble. The final boss of a dungeon known as one of the 8 great mysteries of the world, defeated by just 2 people. It's truly a miracle, he marveled. I thought I was pretty strong myself, but not strong enough to make a miracle like this happen. Honestly, it was all thanks to his plan, he thought, still following behind and watching Jeffy. He overcomes every surprise and doubt, he thought cautiously, as if he's looking down on everything from on high with contempt. As Net was thinking this, a loud noise echoed from behind, catching both of their attention. From behind the large door, there was a sudden series of knocks, The figure of a suit of armor holding a large wooden sword appeared. Something strange was oozing from it. It let out a low groan. A knight of Georges appeared in its most tattered and disgusting form. It leaned on its wooden sword for support, a faint magical aura radiating from its body. Then more of them appeared one after another, and with their groans, the magical aura grew stronger, seeping through the crack in the door to our side. After a moment, it was dense enough to fill the entire hall. The magical aura sought out the weakened woman lying on the ground, making her cry out in a long, "Ah! This magic!" She trembled. "Joseph! My knight!" She stammered, so moved that tears streamed down her face. Immediately after absorbing the magical energy, her body began to transform as Net stood watching. Struggling to raise a protective hand, he asked in confusion, "Well, what the hell is going on?" Jeffy, equally clueless, replied, "I don't know either. This wasn't in the report." "The report on Lucius's dungeon conquest that I read in my past life," he silently mused. "I see now. Unlike Lucius, who entered the boss room after defeating the guardian monster, the future has changed because that thing wasn't destroyed." Eurydica had now regained her form. Though it was no longer her original form, she glanced at the holy pillar of faith and simply pointed a hand at it. Instantly, a sand maw opened up and swallowed the holy cross whole. Once it was done, she looked over at them. Jeffy and Net immediately charged forward, raising their blades to strike her down as they both yelled out. But as their swords struck Eurydica's body, Net thought in a panic, "There's no sensation of impact." "This skill again," Jeffy thought, realizing it too. Media's ancient art, spatial distortion. Suddenly, a magic circle appeared under their feet. In the blink of an eye, a tangled mass of thorny vines shot upwards. Forcing them to dodge with difficulty, Net's eyes suddenly widened as he stared at Eurydica charging right at him. As she reached for him, he thought in shock, so fast. But Jeffy quickly intervened, shouting, "Don't even think about it," right after he successfully managed to capture her with the Black Iron Queen's web. "Get over here!" Jeffy yelled, gripping the threads tightly. Eurydica just whimpered in frustration as a light suddenly began to glow around his arm. He thought to himself, basic reinforcement magic formula. Then he gave Eurydica a powerful tug, silently calculating in his head about her defensive technique. Spatial distortion is invincible as a defense. However, because it warps the space around the user, even their own attacks can't reach their opponent, he thought as he pulled her. That means the moment Eurydica gets close enough to attack is our only chance. She wasn't idle either, immediately stretching out her hand. She then created her own thorny vines, anchoring them firmly to the floor. But right before her eyes, the image of Net swinging his sword appeared. He smoothly brought the blade down, and just as he was silently cheering, "All right, the attack hit now." His thought cut off, abruptly replaced by shock, as he saw the slash heading right back at him. What? The slash instantly connected, cutting him diagonally from his right shoulder to his left hip. As he collapsed, Eurydica simply stood there, triumphant. It was because she had used Black Mirror, an ancient art of media, that reflects all incoming damage while also increasing the reflected damage by 300% based on the user's proficiency. Eurydica gently pointed her hand at him. A surge of magic powerfully formed into a black hand and slammed down on him. Net cried out, "Ah!" as he blocked the blow. At that moment, a fist flew out. Jeffy relentlessly landed powerful blows on Eurydica's back. Thunder strike palm. He brought down each punch like a clap of thunder. As he deployed his technique, she immediately began to chant, but he quickly created a glowing thread to launch his next attack. The thread stretched toward several points of light, on her right arm. Pressure point, he thought, an Eastern technique used to crush an opponent by constricting the meridians that circulate their magic, he thought as his grip made her falter. Although it doesn't deal as much damage as a typical weapon attack constricting the pressure points. Temporarily severs the opponent's meridians, making it impossible for them to use any skills. Her mana recovery speed is incredible, as expected of a great mage. If I hadn't mastered this technique, looks like I couldn't sever her mana flow. He sighed, exhausted, but still on guard. To think I'd actually be using the things I trained with Auntie for like this. Seizing the chance, Eurydica jumped back, growling in fury, but he wasn't about to let her get away that easily. He once again used his ensnaring web to latch onto her while constricting her mana channels. "I'll work together with these threads," he thought, forcefully pulling Eurydica closer. As soon as the distance was perfect, he pressed both hands against her body, making her let out a loud, pained shriek. Just then, he pulled out the item he'd bought from Yos, the enchanted healing beads. It was a rosary with Buddhist techniques carved into each wooden bead. Even a non-monk could use this rosary. The skill enchanted in the beads disappears after a single use. He then flicked 3 of the wooden beads away. A little over 9 seconds until the black hand vanishes, Jeffy calculated as he watched them fly. He let out a relieved smile only when they landed on Ness, making him grunt. There, he thought. I've managed to save his hide for now. But because he'd let his guard down, he was immediately struck by a powerful blow from below. A leather strap flung him far away from Eurydica, and he slammed hard into a large pillar, gritting his teeth. This damn monster, he thought, irritated. The pressure point attack couldn't hold her for long. Soon, thorny vines shot out and bound him tightly. Eurydica was all too eager to create orbs of mana and aim them at him. Ha! He let out a mocking laugh. I really didn't see this coming.